I think we're ready. We're ready. We're back from lunch, I think. 45 minutes is not very long, Your Honor, Judge. If we could renegotiate the lunch break. If you have to get the food yourself out of the freezer, you have to cook it, you have to eat it, and you have to clean up. 45 minutes is not enough time to do all the other things I also need to do on lunch. And so I ate. I did clean up. Sound is off. Or is sound off? Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Should be on. I think sound is on my end. Testing 1 2. Yeah, I've got audio. All right. We're back. You don't have to clean up until the last minute, says Ivan. No. I'm not gonna do. I know the stunt you pulled when your missus went out of town for a while, and then you had to hurry and clean up right at the end. So we're gonna do this differently. And and I'm not gonna have any last minute rush. Oh, it's good. Let's see, KR, I am back. You might want to check your volume. Make sure you don't have some headphones attached. You didn't know we're getting the feed. I think we're about 30 seconds from coming back from lunch. No chat on screen. That's my problem. Boom. I don't hear him. Oh, no. Do you know what that means? I completely forgot. Who was first? Let me scroll back. I think it was KR. It was KR. KR. Good news and bad news, Mr. KR. Mr. KR. I don't know the gender. The good news is that you won the internet. The bad news is you have to fix your own audio problem because you're the one responsible for everything IP related. I'm getting ads when I jumped in, so this one's not demonetized. Cass, I don't think I've ever purposely put an ad into the live stream, but to be monetized, you have to allow them to have at least skippable ads at the beginning, and so that's what I have. We have skippable ads. I think it takes 5 seconds, and then you can skip it. I mean, I have a button I can click, and it inserts ads, but I've never done that. Because honestly, I would hate that to happen when I was watching something, and I don't think you would like it either. So, 5 second ad at the beginning, no big whoop. I listened to it. Thank you. I appreciate that. How's this trial going, Sandra? This is an interesting one.
I was kicked back, taking it easy.
I think this is fascinating. It's got some things in here that we haven't seen before. First of all, it's almost like a Hitman. Okay, it's like a murder for hire, only there was no money. She got a hitman to do what she wanted without paying him, and that's next level stuff. I mean, that's amazing. Stacia Lee says, "Oh wow, another gifted membership. Thank you so much. It's really appreciated. Love to have that green courthouse by your name. Looks great. That's 5 months. 5 months, Stacy. You're gonna be a yellow courthouse here before you know it. That's awesome. Hope his lunch was good. The judge is. I do like this judge. He's very abrupt. Not abrupt. He's very succinct. He's very. He gets straight to the point. There's not a lot of.
You and this chat are making my day.
Thank you, Sharon Kent Sharp. I appreciate that. This judge gets right to the point. He says it. He's quick. Even his oath. You promise to tell the truth. Good. All right. That was it. You know, it's everything is just quick and down to business. It seems to be pretty effective. He's running a pretty tight ship as far as the schedule goes. It's probably going to be similar to what we have in other courts, where we have a morning break, then lunch, and then an afternoon break, and then evening break. So we'll have those regular schedules. You didn't have time to update the red graphic. No, I got rid of the color picture on the decedent and the other player, Jennifer. I put their picture in black and white. It just seemed with the color picture and the color red, it just looked like too realistic, and so I toned it down a little bit. And I had a suggestion earlier on the previous stream. See, having banana pudding this afternoon. My mom is here in Arkansas cooking for me. That is awesome. I'm cooking for myself. I had chow mein just the veggies and noodles. It was pretty good. A little, just a dab of soy sauce on there for a bit more flavor. It was great. Nanar, good to have you here. Welcome. Hope you enjoy this. I will say this trial is going to have some spicy bits as well. We just don't know how close it's going. How much they're going to get into that. Do these two killers ever connect face to face? Yes or no? I don't know. Carol, we know that they at least saw each other when he allegedly committed the murder. That would have been one time they connected face to face. We know that they did connect in high school and it sounds like college as well, before he went off into the military, and they sort of broke things off. That they were almost on path to getting married, and then they went their different directions. So they were one time they were a thing, but we don't know.
You need me to sign something?
Yes, this check made out to me for $1 million, Your Honor. I don't know what he's signing. Very professional and succinct. Let's hope it stays that way. I think it will. He seems like a good guy. We've been tearing through the witnesses because of the defense. Because the defense they're putting on. There's our defendant right there in the blue shirt.
Thank you, Sheriff. Y'all may be seated.
Standing almost at attention.
Sir, I'll remind you, as you take your seat, you're still under the oath that I gave to you previously. Whenever you get situated, and Ms. Mitchell, whenever you're ready, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Walton, you're the same detective that was testifying prior to lunch, correct?
Yes, this is correct.
All right. And you and I think we left off where you were talking about the ATF that had done a flyover of the home in Cumberland Furnace, Tennessee.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
And that there was a truck that was matching, with the same sticker matching the truck in Texas on the date of October 9th of 2020, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And the same address that was in the phone of Jennifer Fate's phone here in Dallas, Texas, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
This trial is interesting.
With this information, I know there's a lot going on. You have various search warrants going out. You're talking to people, correct?
That's correct.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may. You can have permission to approach the remainder of the trial, okay? Both sides can. Go ahead.
The judge is tired of granting permission. They can all
I'm going to
approach.
show you what's in marked as State's Exhibit.
That's how far you read during lunch. 45 minutes. You read the first third.
83 and State's Exhibit 84. I want you to take a look at these.
Is he frowning on
Affidavit
purpose?
For a search warrant.
Hey, yes, ma'am, it is.
And that search warrant is for,
Cell phone records for Darrin Lopez.
okay, and that was through Verizon, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And the dates of the search warrant for the Verizon records, can you,
Yes.
I believe it was 10/1 to 10/30, but if you could double check.
Yes, 10/1/2020, 12 a.m. Through 10/30, 2020, 11:59 p.m.
Okay. And can you go ahead and list the phone number for Darrin Lopez that's listed on that?
Yes, ma'am. 615-630-3046.
All right. Thank you very much. And can you just take a look at State's Exhibit 84? Do you recognize?
He's like, that's the wrong
that?
number.
It's the business records from Verizon.
Okay, yes, I do.
Okay. And when you get Verizon, when you do a search warrant for Verizon call records, what do you get back?
The business records.
The business records?
Yes.
Mhm. The call detail records, is
Yes.
that what that is? Okay, commonly called a CDR?
Yes,
Okay. All right. At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to offer into evidence State's Exhibit 83 and 84 for record purposes.
We have no objection.
83 and 84 admitted for record purposes only.
Right. Okay, so let's just go over that one more time. When you're doing a search warrant for these Verizon records for somebody's, all you have at this time is a cell phone number, correct?
that's correct.
That number that you've already read in.
Yes, that's correct.
And the records that you get back, and again, we'll have an analyst come and talk about this, but the records that you get back from Verizon
They always call them
are called
analysts.
detail records normally, but just based off the phone number. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the purpose in doing the search warrant from the time of 10/1 to 10/30 based off the number that you had received from Jennifer Lopez's
Lopez.
phone?
She almost said Jennifer Lopez.
We were trying to place him at the scene in Dallas.
Okay. Sometimes you can get location data
Yes, you can.
on the phone, sometimes you can't.
That's correct.
Okay. Were you also trying to see any communication between the two during this time?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and were you also trying to see a level of communication between the two of these during this time?
Yes.
And you eventually do get these records back, and the analyst was Jessica Mast who did it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And again, she's going to testify, but these records, just based off your memory, they show communication between Jennifer and Darrin during the month of October.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you recall anything interesting about that time period, particularly around the time of the murder?
Just lead and tell him, because we've done all along.
Death of James Faith.
I remember there being a lot of communication during that time frame. Mm-hmm.
And then right around October 8th and October 9th, is there anything that changes?
Yes, I think the hours, approximately 28, 29 hours of the communication changing.
Okay, all right. Make sure you speak up, Detective Walton.
I got you.
Okay, so there comes a time where there's almost no communication between Jennifer Faith and Darrin Lopez.
That's correct.
Okay, and these are the dates that are at the time of Jamie Faith's death, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. At the same time that you were doing the search warrants for the call detail records from Verizon, you were also speaking with Jennifer Faith, correct?
Yes.
And at one point, I believe on October 12th, you and Eric Barnes, Detective Eric Barnes, go back to Jennifer Faith's house.
Yes, we do.
Can you tell the jury the reason to go back on that particular day?
We were trying to see if there was any additional information that we could receive for the investigation, and then also to check her camera. She said she had Ring cameras. We were able to get one set, and we're trying to find out why the front cameras were not working. So that's why we went back.
Okay. And when you go to her house with Detective Barnes, does she give you access to her Ring camera?
Yes, she does.
The business is too much.
And what do you and Barnes do?
This is going to be bad enough.
Are you sitting at her computer looking through everything?
But thank you, Anthony.
Yes, sitting at her computer. She's right there with me,
Brandy.
and also Detective Barnes. I came across there was a side camera. I came across an individual walking next to the vacant house, and I asked her. It was approximately 2:38 in the morning, and I asked her who that was, and she told me she didn't know. She later informed me that she talked to some neighbors, and the neighbor said that there was the individual who gets into it with his wife, and he gets drunk, and then he does stuff like that.
Okay, let's back up just a little bit on that one. Let me show
Anthony,
you what's marked as States Exhibit 81. And
Brandy
then I
Churchwell
have a look at this
on YouTube
regarding the
for
side
that
motion
channel.
Ring video. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and you have reviewed this?
Yes, I have.
All right. Is it what was sent to you by Jennifer Faith on or about October 12th from her Ring camera?
Yes, it was.
All right. At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to offer into evidence States Exhibit 81, the Ring camera side motion from the Faith house.
No objection.
It's admitted to make published.
Thank you. Okay, Detective Walton, let's just back up. Before we get into the excuse she made, she has not given you any information about a suspect at this point, but she can definitively tell you. Is that correct?
Just the blue mask with the medium-built guy, black eyes.
Okay,
What she said.
that's good. So all she's given you so far, and she's
that's
kind of stuck to
accurate.
that story. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
All right. And so when you and Barnes are looking at this Ring video, she's there with you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so she sees you see what you're seeing.
Yes.
Okay. Now, the action is, just so everyone's aware, the action is very early in the video, right? So you have to kind of pay attention right from the beginning, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, go turn. Okay. And what do we see?
It's an individual wearing a blue mask, black shirt, and a ball cap,
Okay.
walking around the vacant house next to Mr. Faith's house.
All right, and let's just go back one more time because it does. I'm going to pause it. And you have come to find out after this, Detective Walton, that the blue house is the vacant house next door.
Yes.
where Jamie Faith ends up dying in front of that morning.
Yes.
And the house next door, this gray house, is 926 Waverly,
Yes.
where Jamie Faith and Jennifer Faith reside, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And can you also notice when I turn this back on, the timestamp at the bottom
Yes, 2:38 a.m.
on 10/9 of 2020?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, the rest of this video does not, I believe we watched it, it does not show any human form coming back around again. Is that correct?
No, that's correct.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. Here it is.
So can you guys just mount your cameras a little bit better? Is this how you watch your security camera footage? Oh, man. If you go to all the work of putting the camera up, why not just take the extra 3 seconds to just straighten it out and get a nice, clear picture that's oriented well? Aziz, lights.
Okay. And at the time, you asked her, since this is an important date, correct? 10/9 at 2:30 a.m. You asked Jennifer Faith who that person is.
Yes, I did.
And her answer is,
She said
at the time, at the day.
at the date, she said that she didn't know who that was.
Okay. And then the next day, what does Jennifer Faith do?
She called me and said that I know who that is. My neighbors had told me that that's one of our other neighbors who gets into it with his wife when he gets drunk, and then he does stuff like that. He walks around like that.
Okay. Okay. Do you continue to have contact with Jennifer Faith during this time?
Yes, I do.
And let's make it clear, Darrin Lopez ended up being arrested on January 11th of 2021, correct?
Yes, he did.
Okay. So during this investigation that went from October 9th all the way to January 11th until his arrest, correct?
Yes.
All right. So during this time in October and November and December, you and Barnes and some of the ATF people over in Tennessee are doing surveillance. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Do you know what type of surveillance the ATF was doing in Tennessee?
There was a video camera that was built out of a tree, and they placed a video camera. They built it inside of a tree to catch the actual vehicle leaving the residence, and we were able to catch the vehicle with the same T emblem leaving the residence from that location.
Okay. And again, Detective Barnes was the one who was working with the ATF on that, and so he'll be able to testify and elaborate to that later.
Yes, he will.
Various search warrants are going out, especially these CDR records, and then eventually do you get Google records?
Yes, we do.
And what was the point of the Google records?
To try to place him in Dallas.
And you and Barnes do 2 Google records on Darrin Lopez's Google account, Gmail account, correct?
Yes.
Okay. One December 18th and one December 23rd. Is that correct?
Those are both by, I believe, Detective Barnes on that one.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's marked as states number 85 and 86. And this is a search warrant going to whom?
At Google.
Okay. And the date of the search warrant?
The witness seems like he's trying to frown.
December 18th.
December 18th. Okay. And this was for Darrin Lopez's records, correct?
Yes, that's
All
correct.
right. And then State's Exhibit number 86 would be the letter that you received from Google. Is that correct?
Yeah, Detective Barnes received this letter, yes.
Okay. And then what is stapled are the returns that you get back from Google.
Yes.
Right. Okay. State's number 87 is a search warrant to whom?
Google.
Okay. And for Darrin Lopez's records again?
Yes.
Okay. And that search warrant is dated?
December 23rd. Also Detective Barnes.
Okay. And then again, State's Exhibit number 88, the letter that is returned from Google referencing the December 23rd records and the returns on the CD. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. At this time, Your Honor, I would like to offer into evidence State's Exhibit 85, 86, 87, and 88 for record purposes only.
We have seen these, Your Honor, and there's no objection.
They're admitted for record purposes only.
Does Detective Barnes get these Google returns before you do?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And does he contact you?
Yes, he told me to check my email.
Okay. Does he contact you fairly early in the morning?
Yes, he does.
Okay. Because what had he done when he saw these returns?
He contacted me and verified the information.
Okay. And the information just generally showed what?
Mr. Lopez in Dallas.
That he was actually in the area?
Yes, during that time.
At the time of Jamie Faith's death?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. At this time, do you and Barnes and DPD decide to do an arrest warrant for Darrin Lopez?
Yes, I obtained an arrest warrant for Darrin. And on the ATF side, the federal side, state lines, we were working on for the search warrant for his residence. So the arrest and the search warrant together at the same time.
Okay. All right. And it is January 11th is when a group goes out. Who is the group from DPD that goes out to Tennessee to work with the ATF to potentially effectuate an arrest?
So the group, we had members of our squad. We had Detective Gross, Detective Barnes, and also Sergeant Segala went down to Tennessee the first few days.
Right. You didn't. You stayed here.
Yeah, the first day. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And they were, and again, Detective Barnes will testify, but were they able to arrest Darrin Lopez on January 11th?
Yes, they were.
Okay. And what were you doing back here in Dallas?
Goal was to bring in Mrs. Faith in for another interview. So the goal was to bring them at the same time, so that way the communication line wouldn't be there. So once we had her in the office with me, her cell phone was out of the room, and Mr. Lopez was getting taken into custody, and then that's when I went into another interview with her.
Okay. All right. But you brought her in to stop any communication between the two of them around the time that they're trying to effectuate an arrest on him out in Tennessee. Is that correct?
That's correct. I didn't want her to let him know.
Okay. And he, in fact, was arrested on January 11th of 2021.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And then the next day, you fly out there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what do you do when you get out to Tennessee?
We got with Detective Barnes and the other detectives that were out there, and also spoke with one of the daughters of Mr. Lopez.
All right. And then one last thing regarding those texts that you and I looked at before and showed the jury regarding Tina Spring. This is State's Exhibit 78. And then we have shown you this is the entire text stream that Cellbrite put groups together between Tina Spring and Jennifer Faith, and you were able to review this.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
All right. At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to offer into evidence States 78, which is the group thread between Tina Spring and Jennifer Faith for record purposes.
No objection for record purposes, Your Honor.
78's admitted for record purposes only.
At this time, Your Honor, I will pass the witness.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
They're flying through these witnesses.
Morning, Detective.
Morning, how you doing?
We've actually met a few times, right?
Yes, sir, we
Today?
have.
Got
Yes,
to know
sir.
each other kind of well.
Yes, sir.
So you were the lead investigator on this case.
Yes, sir, I was.
And as the lead investigator, it's your job to coordinate with everybody else doing something on the case. For you to coordinate with Detective Barnes, you coordinate with Detective Gonzalez, who collected the evidence.
Yes, sir.
You coordinate with experts that help you with phone dumps, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're the one. Are you the one that decides also what evidence gets to be tested or not tested?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're the lead person on this case.
Yes, I am.
And that's why you have that big folder here in front of you here today, right?
Yes, that's correct.
I mean, everything that was done on this case should be in that folder, right?
Yes.
Okay. So as part of
There's
your,
the
so
folder.
you have the complete knowledge of
Thank
what went
you,
on in this
cameraman.
case and what they involved.
That is awesome.
Yes, sir.
So when you were able to determine through your investigation that Darrin Lopez and Jennifer Faith had begun talking and having an emotional affair, correct?
Yes.
You were able to determine that they never actually met in person until the day of Jamie's death. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's the first time you ever laid eyes on her since they were dating back in high school, correct?
That's correct.
And you were able to learn things about Mr. Lopez, right?
Yes, it was.
You were able to learn that as the emails talk, as the text messages between Tina and Jennifer indicate, that he had been in Iraq and Korea and different deployments as part of the Special Forces.
That's correct.
You were able to learn that Mr. Lopez was a decorated war hero, correct?
Yes, it was. Yes.
You were able to learn that he received a Purple Heart as part of his deployment, and that Purple Heart related to the fact that he had been blown up or close to an explosion that caused him to get that Purple Heart. Isn't that true?
That's correct.
You were able to learn that he had been serving valiantly as a medic with the Special Forces the whole time he was there and put himself in danger many times, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
For the service of this country, correct?
There's the sympathy
Yes.
card they're playing.
And you were able to learn that he had suffered and been treated for traumatic brain injury in the military, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
You were able to learn that also he was determined to have PTSD as part of his as a result of his injuries and his service. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you were able to learn this through documentation, correct?
Yes.
You were able to learn this through talking with different witnesses
Other officers as well.
and officers as well.
Yeah.
And you were able to look at military records that indicated that that was true.
Yes, sir.
It wasn't something that was made up.
No, sir.
So you learned all these things, and then you learned through your investigation that Jennifer and Darrin had reconnected and were having this affair, right?
Yes, sir.
And you were able to look at emails. You were able to look at text messages that indicated to Darrin that she was telling him that she was being abused by her husband. Isn't that true?
That's correct.
You were able to learn through your investigation and look at emails and text messages and talking to witnesses that Jennifer created a fake email account that purported to be Jamie Faith.
It is correct.
You were able to also learn that Darrin Lopez started to receive text messages from Jennifer's phone that were from Jamie. Is that correct? Or purported to be from Jamie?
Emails. Yes.
Were you able to find out if he received text messages from her phone indicating that it was Jamie?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, you were able to learn that a code was used between them, so Darrin would know if he was really talking to Darrin or if he was really talking to Jennifer.
Yes, sir.
It was like, I think, a 575. Does that sound familiar?
I thought it was 381 or something like that, I believe.
If it was 571, it was some type of code, right?
Yes, sir.
That meant something between them, so he could know whether it was Jamie texting her or if it was her texting. Because if it was just text messages, he wanted to make sure it was all coming from her phone, right?
It can lead on cross. But yeah,
I believe so. I just have to look at it just to verify that.
Okay. But it doesn't sound untrue to you.
No, it doesn't.
So, as the lead investigator, you talked to Jennifer. You were trying to console her. And was that done at the police department or out there at the scene?
Both.
Both.
Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, when you were back at the police department, you even prayed with her, right?
In our residence.
At her residence, I think.
Yes,
You and
sir.
Detective Barnes prayed with her to try to comfort her, for at the time you believed that she didn't know what was going on.
I did. Detective Barnes wasn't there at that time.
And at that point, you believed that she didn't know anything, right?
At that time, yes, sir.
Because otherwise you wouldn't have been praying with her.
Well,
If you thought she was involved somehow.
I pray for everybody.
Thank you.
Pray for everybody.
I might need some prayers soon.
Hey, Dodie, welcome.
We're looking at emails that were obtained through the search warrants that you testified here today. You were able to determine that Jennifer had created these fake email accounts in order to convince Darrin that she was being abused sexually and physically by her husband.
That was my initial thought. Yes, sir.
Eventually, through your investigation, you were able to figure out that the emails coming from Rob Schmidt were really coming from from Jennifer Faith, correct?
That's correct.
It was a fake email account.
Yes, sir.
Rob Schmidt had nothing to do with any of this. Right?
No, sir.
Because you were able to talk to him and determine that he had no idea that somebody was using his name.
That's correct.
The witness is feeling
You
the
were
heat.
able to collect emails through the search warrants that were from Darrin Lopez's account.
Yes.
Were you able to find emails that were from Jennifer Faith's true account?
Yes.
How many emails do you think you found?
I can't say. I can't give a number right now.
Were you ever able to? One moment. When she signed the consent form, allowing you to look through her phone, the first consent time that you asked to look through her phone and sign a consent form, the emails, the text messages that you found on her phone were only the ones from Tina?
Yes. Yes, sir.
You were not able to find any emails text messages between Darrin and Jennifer, correct?
Correct.
So it would be reasonable to believe that she had deleted all those text messages before signing that consent form.
Yes, that's correct.
But she made a big mistake, right? She forgot to delete the messages between Tina and her where she talks about Mr. Lopez. Is that true?
That's correct.
Charles, thank you for your service.
You were able to determine that Jennifer instructed Darrin to remove the T on the back of that truck.
Yes, that's correct.
And that was through emails or interviews or some way through your investigation. You were able to determine that she was telling him, hey, you might want to remove that T from your car.
That's correct.
At her direction.
That's correct.
Yeah, I don't think you would do that. Would be wild, but I don't
You
think
talked about how Darrin was arrested on January 11th, but the investigation didn't stop there, right?
No, sir, I didn't.
The investigation kept going because you were not only investigating Darrin at that point, you were also investigating Jennifer instead of her actions, correct?
That's correct.
As part of that investigation, you received information
the T was a sticker on the back window
through
of the defendant's truck.
conversations with witnesses and also Darrin Lopez, correct?
What kind of information?
I mean, you received information. You were sat in on an interview. We can't talk about right now about what was said during that interview. We can't get into that at all. But we can talk about the fact that you sat down with Detective Barnes and Rick Calvert, the Assistant U.S. Attorney, Felicia Guy, another Assistant District
I'm going to
Attorney.
object to going into this at this point, Your Honor.
Yes,
It is out there generally that there was a conversation, but I believe that we're diving into details that don't need to come out.
Your Honor, we're not talking about what was said.
All right, so long as we don't talk about the details
Yes.
or what was said, go ahead.
We can't talk about what was said, but you were able to make observations during that meeting, correct?
That's correct.
Did you feel, was it your perception that Mr. Lopez was being honest?
Objection, Your Honor. I think this is going into the statements of the back door.
Yes.
We're not talking about anything that's being said, Your Honor.
I appreciate that. That's sustained.
I appreciate that sustained.
Well, as the investigation went on, and you sat in on this interview with Mr. Lopez,
Here comes another objection.
you were still trying to interview other people who were involved in this case, including Jennifer, right?
That's correct.
Did you ever reach out or receive information that Jennifer Faith had tried this in the past with another boyfriend?
I don't recall I did.
You did?
I don't recall I did.
Okay. Is it possible that Detective Barnes received information that she had tried this with another boyfriend in the past?
I had to talk to him about that.
So we can ask him when he testifies about that.
Yes, sir.
But eventually, you were able to, you received information, either directly or indirectly as part of your investigation, that Jennifer Faith admitted to what she did.
That's correct.
She admitted that she made these fake email accounts, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
That she admitted that she had misled Darrin Lopez into believing that she was being...
Objection, Your Honor. That is, objection. That is not relevant at this time to this, and an objection that it is something that we can go into at this point.
Your Honor, we're offering this in front of the jury so they can understand that it was part of his investigation. We're not offering the proof. We're not offering any hearsay at this point. We're just offering that he learned that she finally admitted to what she did.
That's exactly hearsay.
And that's part of the investigation.
I'll let you go that far, but I think anything further than that, I'm not going to let you get into. So the objection's sustained.
So just to reiterate, as part of your investigation,
Sustained. Now I'm going to
finally
go over it
figured
again.
out that she admitted to making fake email accounts and misleading Darrin, correct?
I say making the fake email accounts, but I believe that they were in this thing together.
I'm sorry?
I believe that they were in this together.
Okay, you believe that?
Yes.
But you received that she didn't admit to that, did she?
She admitted to creating the fake emails and that part. Yes.
Did she admit that she misled him as to her abuse?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
I think based on his
answer,
Your Honor.
I'll allow the answer to that question. Go ahead.
Could you repeat your question?
Did she admit that she lied about the abuse to Darrin?
Yes, she did.
He's getting as close to the line as he possibly can. I smell a sidebar, says Rick. It's coming. The state's not happy about this.
And you indicated that she gave you consent to look in her phone the first time.
Yes, she did.
Did you all ask her if you could look at her phone again?
Yes, we did.
And did she come to the police department in order for you to do that?
Yes, she did.
And did she come with her original phone, or did she come with a brand new phone?
She came with a brand new phone.
So she didn't bring the original phone that was that you really wanted to look at, right?
That's correct. She didn't bring that phone.
She agrees to turn over her phone, but gets a brand new one. Oh, I'd lost my old one, but here's the new one. You're welcome to take a look at that.
I pass the witness room.
Just a couple of questions on redirect, Your Honor. After Darrin Lopez's arrest, the investigation went on, as Mr. Sanchez said, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and these emails were all found well after his arrest, is that correct?
That's correct.
Months after, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And in fact, it was Rebecca Lopez, his estranged wife, that ended up finding the records and sending them to Eric Barnes, is that correct? Some of these emails.
That's correct.
Okay. And as far as going back to the consent form, Jennifer Faith did delete texts and emails between the two of them.
Yes,
Is that
you did.
correct?
Yes, you
All
did.
right. And as part of the investigation that you did with Darrin Lopez and the records that you got, it became clear that he was also deleting texts and emails from his phone, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And again, we'll hear from an analyst later and other people later, but it came to your attention that he too had emailed several texts and emails, correct?
That's correct.
Because their communication is extremely high, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. But then later, what we find in the phone does not reflect what the Verizon records reflect,
Correct.
correct? Okay. So both were deleting texts and emails and messages off their phone.
That's correct.
And just one more thing of housekeeping, Your Honor. May I approach the bench?
Sure.
You don't have to ask to approach anymore. You could just walk right up to the judge's bench and stick a paper on his desk. Special delivery.
I'm going to show you.
brand new binder.
I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 164. It is not open at this point. It will be opened later. But
touch
you
his
and I
mic.
did look at this piece of evidence together at the property room, correct?
That's correct.
And that is where the property from the Dallas Police Department is kept, at the Baylor Street property room, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you and I looked at this together, and you sealed it back up and put your initials on it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you're the one that brought it here today.
Yes, I
And
did.
what does this box contain?
Contains a .45 caliber Smith & Wesson handgun that was used in this murder investigation.
Is that correct?
All right. At this time, Your Honor, I'm going to offer into evidence State's Exhibit 164 for record purposes of this.
No objection, Your Honor.
164 is admitted for record purposes only.
It's not even open.
And Mr. Walton, if Darrin Lopez were in the courtroom today, could you identify him?
Yes, I could.
Could you please identify him by an article of clothing that he is wearing?
He's wearing a blue shirt, collared shirt with a short haircut.
All right. If I am in seat number 1 and my co-counsel is in seat number 2, which seat would he be in?
Seat number 5.
All right. Thank you. May the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant in open court.
It's a pretty thorough identification. Seat number, haircut, item of clothing.
All right. No further questions.
I have a few more questions, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Detective, based on your estimation, do you believe there was about 120,000 text messages between Darrin Lopez and Jennifer Faith? That sound like a fair number?
100.
Between calls and text messages, 122.
122,000.
22.
I believe so. Yes.
And do you recall that there came a point, though, where Darrin Lopez wasn't receiving text messages anymore, and he was wondering why?
You talking about the day that he committed this crime?
No. I was talking about at some point during your investigation, were you able to find out that they had to start communicating through WhatsApp?
I can't recall that, but I can look at it.
Can you look in your folder?
It won't be up in here. No, sir.
Do you have that information somewhere?
I can check. I can check.
Well, let me help you out a little bit. May I have a question? You gave me permission, Judge. Let me show you what's been marked as defendant's exhibit number 1.
Okay.
And take a look through this.
Is it in your folder? I want to
See
have
if it's
that.
something that you recognize.
I know everything that's in my folder, and that's not it. How dare you point out that the folder is lacking anything, Mr. Defense? 122,000 communications, text messages,
Take your time.
emails. Yeah, no rush. It's like, can I have a copy of this for my folder?
I don't believe I've seen this one.
These were provided by the state to us, so you as the lead investigator
Yeah.
had no reason to have those?
Let me see. I believe
It's going to throw someone under the bus.
I have to go back and look. I have to go back and
How long
look.
would it take you to go back and look and see if you ever looked at this?
I can make a phone call or two.
So if we have to call you back up on the stand, you can do that.
Yes, sir, I can.
But just from looking at this right now, does it look like it's conversations done through WhatsApp?
Yes, sir.
would it be unfair to me to say that just on the quick look that you have right now, that they had to start communicating because of he wasn't receiving text messages at that point?
Can you repeat that?
Just from the quick look that you had of these records that were provided by the state, did it look to you like Darrin was having trouble receiving text messages?
It just looked like some individuals having communication through that. I can't say whether he wasn't receiving them or not.
So sometime today, will you be able to go back and look for the WhatsApp messages that were part of your investigation?
Yes, sir. I can check into it.
How embarrassing.
Also, as part of your investigation, you received a letter that was written by Jennifer Faith to Darrin Lopez in the jail, right?
Yes, that's correct.
May I approach the witness room?
You don't have to ask anymore. You can just walk up there. That was a good chase. Love that bus chase.
This is
That
part
was
of your investigation and also the federal investigation, correct?
That's correct.
I'll show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit number 2. Does that look familiar?
Yes, it does.
Does that purport to be a letter that you received and made part of your file that was sent to Darrin Lopez in the jail from somebody that purports to be Jennifer Faith?
There's a letter to him in the jail. Yes, sir.
Okay. And you received information that would indicate to you that that was from her?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At this time, I would move to admit Defendant's Exhibit number 2.
So the defense exhibit number 2 is the letter Jennifer Faith wrote from jail, from prison, to Darrin when he was in jail. Because I think Jennifer was, let's see, who was in jail first? Was Darrin in jail first? So first we have the WhatsApp messages, and now we have this jail letter. Yeah, publish, I want to see it, says Red Pen.
Defense 2's admitted to make publish?
Publish from overhead. Do we still call them overhead, Jerome?
Okay, let's,
I think so.
Darren's really excited to see this letter. See that big smile? Fire up the Elmo, and we'll get to read this together. It's on all the screens. Here it is. 575.
So you had this letter yourself in your file, and this was a letter dated October 19, 2021, and it says, "Hello. Just see if I can read this. Just a quick note to say I never lied to you, and I never sent you emails from any account but mine as me. You once said you would never believe anything about me unless you heard it from me. I hope that's still true. There is a ton more I wish I could say, but I can't right now. Soon, hopefully. If you want to respond, you can write back to the address on the envelope. Your cousin Tony never sent the letter you wrote, only said he got one. So don't go through him anymore. 381 ... still now and forever." This letter here that you have made part of your file is a letter from Jennifer Faith, where she's still trying to convince Darrin that she never lied to him about the emails, correct?
That's what the letter says.
And the letter also purports that she shouldn't believe when anybody else is telling.
That's correct.
Is that correct? As part of your investigation, you were trying to convince Darrin that he had been duped. Isn't that true?
I'm sorry?
That he had been played or that he had been lied to.
No, I wasn't trying to. I believe
trying to do that?
I wasn't trying to convince him that he was.
Was anybody as part of the investigation, either you or Barnes or anybody else, trying to do that?
I can't say what they were trying to do, but I know I didn't.
Possible, right?
I'm not going to say it's possible because we believe that they were in on it together.
Oh, you keep saying that.
Yes, sir.
What I'm telling you is this letter says she's still denying that she ever sent anything from fake emails when we know that it's true that she created these fake emails.
Yes, sir.
So if she sent this to Darrin, she's still lying to him, isn't she?
That's what the letter says. Yes, sir.
I passed it.
The judge said they don't need to ask anymore.
Sir, it's possible you might be recalled as a witness. So please make sure we know how to get a hold of you. Don't discuss the case with anybody else. Call your next witness, please.
State will call Jessica Mast.
Mr. Sanchez, Ms. Mitchell,
What were the code numbers that she was using? 575 and 381? What does that mean? Looks like they're going to approach the sidebar. The state's probably upset about what the defense was able to go into. They got everything but the details in, and arguably might have accomplished their design without the details. Thomas, we're going to need you to follow up and file a FOIA request for the dash cam footage so we can air that.
If you could, before you have a seat, turn and face me and raise your right hand.
The police chase that ended
Swear
in
the testimony you're about to give will be the truth.
Yes, sir.
Please have a seat. You're responding to questions first from Ms. Mitchell and perhaps also Mr. Sanchez to your left. You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Although with the gunfire, they probably won't release it.
Afternoon.
Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Jessica Mast, JESSICA, MAST.
And Jessica, for whom do you work?
Currently, I work for the North Texas Anti-Gang Center.
I'm sorry, the what?
The North Texas Anti-Gang Center.
Okay, and what do you do for them?
I'm an intel analyst.
And what does that mean in that particular area?
It means that we work with law enforcement to exploit evidence in whatever form that it is received to support investigations.
And what kind of evidence are you sent to analyze?
Phone dumps, CDRs, call detail records, social media records, search warrant returns.
Okay, all right. And what are you given some sort of detailed information so that you know what you're looking for?
We're giving context, yes, ma'am.
Given context, okay. All right. Because now these days there's so much data out there, right?
Absolutely.
You have to be given some context in order to filter through it.
Yes, ma'am.
When you're given, let's for instance, CDR records, what do you do when you receive them?
With regards to call detail records, we will look for patterns in the high frequency calls, meaning what numbers you're calling, how often, and if there is a pattern in that data.
Okay. And were you sent by Eric Barnes some returns from Verizon regarding a Darrin Lopez?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And after, and do you recall when you were sent those?
A specific date? No, ma'am. It would be November 2020.
November of 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you got those records, and the search warrant and the record returns have been admitted into evidence under record purposes already. Mm-hmm. When you get those records, the returns from Verizon, what do you do with them?
I ingest them into a software platform called PLX, and we use that platform to find those patterns.
Oh, she said ingest.
And in this particular instance, what were they asking you to do? What was Eric Barnes asking you to do?
To look for high frequency calls for Mr. Lopez and identify if any of them had any evidentiary purposes.
Okay. Did he also ask you to compare or look for any phone calls between specifically Darrin Lopez and Jennifer Faith?
Yes.
Okay. And you were given Jennifer Faith's phone number in order to do that. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I'm going to show you what's been marked as 89 and 90. This is State's Exhibit number 89. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what is that document generally?
This document is an email that was sent from me to Eric Barnes notating the patterns that I found within this case.
Okay, within the Verizon records that were sent to you in order to analyze. Okay, and then State's Exhibit number 90. Can you generally describe what this is?
This is detailed reports that I generated for you with regards to specific dates, both pre and post the event.
Okay. At this time, Your Honor, I would like to offer into evidence State's Exhibit number 89 and 90. For all purposes.
They're admitted for all purposes. You may publish.
All right. Can we publish on the Elmo's page just now? All right. So you are given the phone numbers that you want to see if there's patterns on, okay? And in this one, you were given dates, I think between from 9:30 to 10:30. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Of 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you say there are 14,363 events. Between Darrin Lopez, number 615-630-3046, and Jennifer Faith, 602-531-4240, from 9:30 to 10:30. When you say events, what are you talking about?
That's a lot of email.
Events are going to be either phone calls and or text messages.
Okay. And can you delineate between a phone call and a text message?
As it relates to the data, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry?
Yes. you
Okay.
can-
And what is the general delineation?
The duration
Okay.
within those records.
Keep going. A text message is going to show what usually?
Text message is going to show no duration of time executed on that call.
Okay.
A phone would obviously be anything from 1 second and beyond.
Okay. So you'll see 000 usually for a text message.
Correct.
Okay. And in this one, you have 107 events on 10/9. 107 events, and you're using military time, so 118.
Yes, ma'am.
And the way you're wording this, from 118, means there was nothing prior to that. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 105 events were texts, and 2 events were calls.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the calls are at what time, military?
9:43 at night and 11:23 at night.
And you give the duration, and this is all on 10/9 of 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And looking at this, they do a lot of text messaging coming in. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You also say of the 41 phone calls between Lopez and Faith, only 19 were able to be mapped. What do you mean by that?
Meaning that there was geolocation data, whether it was tower data or a lat long, there were data there that could be mapped to a specific location.
Okay, but at that time, you could not place Darrin Lopez in Texas.
No, ma'am.
Based on the information that you have from those CDR records. Is that
Yes,
correct? Okay. Okay, and then additionally, you give some more information at the end with things from his phone. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then the report, after you and I talk, you do a report and you summarize it on the first page. But these is an example of what this looks like, correct?
Correct.
All right, so you're only looking at Darrin Lopez and Jennifer Faith's phone events.
Correct.
Okay? And you can tell outgoing and incoming, the time, the date, and the duration.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if it's a 00, it's going to denote a text message, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So for instance, on this date, are we using the provider date?
No, we're using the date time. The provider date would be UTC, Universal Time.
Okay, but we're using this date as the date that the messages were sent
Correct.
and received.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then we can see, for instance, on 10/13, you have these 2 phone calls, and then you just have a string of text messages.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, incoming, outgoing, incoming, outgoing, incoming, outgoing, all day long. And then we're talking 7, 9, and it just goes in chronological order, correct?
Correct.
All right, and that's how every one of these pages is going to be with the dates. So each day denoting the events between the 2 of them, calls or emails, or I'm sorry, calls or text.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. On this one, where you emailed me and you went ahead and did a breakdown of specific dates. So not every date in October you didn't do, just specific dates, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So 10/7 you had 699 events, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then it's important on 10/8. Can you read what that says?
It says that there were 75 events and there was no communication after 9:07 a.m.
And 10-9, you record
107 events with no communication before 1:18 p.m.
Okay, and then on 10-10, we have 270, 10-11, 381, 10-12, 285, 10-13, 255. Again, events means calls or texts. 10-16, you have said what?
I'm sorry?
Can you read 10-16?
808.
And that it is
1 week post Mr. Faith's death.
Wow.
I'm going out of order, but I would like to offer the evidence states exhibit number 224. And do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is this what you and I have discussed and you sent to me?
Yes, ma'am.
And just generally, can you explain what it is?
It's a further breakdown of what you see here. It delineates the difference between the calls and the texts.
All right. At this time, I would like to offer into evidence states exhibit 224, which again has been uploaded, and it is just a breakdown of the events from text to calls.
Okay. Submitted. You may publish.
Okay, Jessica. Is it okay if I call you Jessica?
Absolutely.
All right, Jessica. So just going side by side, if we can.
Ooh, first name basis. Jessica.
Okay. So we see on 10/7 of 2020, there were 699 texts. So every communication on 10/7 was text.
Correct.
On 10/8, we see 75, no communication after 9:07 a.m., 75 texts.
Correct.
10/9, we see 107, no communication, same thing, before 1:18. 105 texts and 2 calls.
Correct.
And then the breakdown, 266 texts, keep going, 377 texts, 4 calls, and they continue. And then on 10/16, you have 807 texts and 1 call. 1 week post Jamie's death, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now this becomes important when we're talking about looking at, well, let me back up a little bit. Again, these are records that you were getting from the provider, from Verizon, right? So presumably records that you cannot manipulate.
Correct.
A human cannot manipulate them. They are records from the provider. However, when someone does a cell extraction, if the numbers are dramatically different from what the provider has sent, particularly months earlier, one could presume that what was on that phone was manipulated with. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, texts and calls can be deleted.
Yes.
But what you're getting from the provider is going to be information that cannot be manipulated.
Correct.
Did you do anything further as analysis on this case?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. And let's just be clear, you are only working with the records during this particular time, 9:30 to 10:30. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes. So you didn't have the entire length of the phone or the March through October big time frame that we're talking about. You had 1 month that you were working with.
Correct.
Okay. All right, I'll pass the witness, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Mast.
Anna, you were called to make this report, correct? And you're looking at data that's provided by Verizon, right?
Correct.
You were not able to look and see what was said in those conversations.
No.
You didn't have any way to find out what was being said by who.
No, sir.
You can only see like who initiated the phone call, right?
Yes.
But you can look at the duration of the phone call.
The duration, whether it's incoming or outgoing,
Correct.
and the number.
But there's no way for you to know what was actually said
No, sir.
in those phone conversations.
No, sir.
Now, are you familiar with how providers limit the amount of text messages that one can receive based on their plans? Are you familiar with that?
No, sir.
Not at all?
No.
In other words, is there any way that someone can max out their text messages
Not to my knowledge.
You're not saying it's impossible, you just say you don't know.
Correct.
That's all I am.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
May she be finally excused.
No objection.
No objection.
You may stand down. You're excused from any further service. Call your next witness, please.
Your Honor, at this time we call Anthony Sims.
How many witnesses have we had today? It's like 7 or 8. We're flying through them. The dance instructor is right there behind the, sort of in the center of the courtroom. He wants to stick around and see how this thing ends.
Anthony Sims, come on up, please.
Thomas, I'm just completing my FOIA request for the video of the incident that you sent in your neck of the woods.
Raise your right hand. Swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth.
I do.
Please have a seat. We're responding to questions first from Ms. Mitchell in front of you and perhaps also Mr. Sanchez to your left. You may proceed.
It's a very speedy trial.
Actually, Agent Sims, you're going to respond to questions from me, right?
Very good. That's Caitlin Payburn. She's
Thank you, Judge.
going to be asking you questions. You may proceed.
Good afternoon, Agent Sims.
Afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your name for the court reporter?
Special Agent Anthony Sims Jr. Name is spelled ANTHONYSIMS. Junior is JR.
And how are you currently employed?
Currently employed with Homeland Security Investigations here in Irving, Texas.
And how long have you been with Homeland Security?
About 13 years.
And what did you do before that?
Before that, I was in the Secret Service and was a pilot in the U.S. Army.
And so you have had, it sounds like, I would imagine, substantial training in various areas related to law enforcement and forensics.
That's correct.
Okay. Could you tell the jury a little bit about your training and education that qualifies you to testify about cell phone extractions, which is what we're going to talk about today?
So I've been trained with basic computer evidence recovery, mobile device evidence recovery, advanced computer evidence recovery, and I have a master's in forensics from Sam Houston State University.
And in your current role, you're the supervisor for the computer forensics lab, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and so what kind of duties and obligations do you have in that role?
So I manage all of North Texas and state of Oklahoma. So all the forensic requests that come in from federal partners, state and local partners, assign forensics cases to my analyst and try to put out the products to support the investigations for the area.
And you are more, it sounds like, in a supervisory role now, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, but are you also sometimes called upon to perform the forensic analysis yourself, such as the cell phone extraction?
Yes, I am.
And is that what happened in this case here?
Yes, it is.
And how would you go about performing this task of extracting the information off of a cell phone?
So once we get a cell phone into the lab, we'd like to review the search warrant that authorizes us to extract information. So we use a program called Cellbrite, and we'll hook the cell phone up to the Cellbrite program. It extracts a bit-for-bit copy from the device so that we can forensically examine it using our software and our tools pursuant to whatever warrant is given to us by our partners.
Okay, and so the jury heard just a tiny mention of Cellbrite earlier, but that's the software you use to perform the analysis?
That's correct.
And just to be clear, you didn't write the software, correct?
That's correct.
How are you qualified or certified to use the software Cellbrite?
So during our computer evidence training, we have individuals from Cellbrite. They come in, they explain how the software works, how the program works. They explain how to perform different extractions to obtain forensic evidence. And then we're given a certification upon completion of that training.
And you're certified to use Cellbrite, correct?
That's correct.
What kind of information can you get when you perform a cell phone extraction?
So different types of information. You can get what's called a physical, if you do a physical extraction, that gets everything on the cell phone, on the memory of the cell phone, stuff that's written to the hard drive of the cell phone. You can also get like a bare bone extraction, which is typically called something called a logical extraction, which gets basic user created information, certain things from the applications, text messages, phone calls, things of that nature.
Okay, so you could get videos?
Correct.
Photos?
Correct.
Messages?
Correct.
Pretty much anything that's on a cell phone, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about what happens to deleted files on a cell phone. Is Cellbrite sometimes able to recover deleted files during a cell phone extraction?
Yes.
What can be some of the issues with the deleted files, or what might they look like?
So when a file is deleted from a cell phone, when Cellbrite is able to extract that information, it may show up as like a red X inside the tool. And that's an indication that this file or program was deleted by the user or by the operating system itself.
And are there sometimes deleted files that cannot be recovered?
Yes.
And sometimes when we do get some deleted files, is it possible that they may be incomplete, for instance, like a text message with only a portion of the message or only a portion of the conversation?
That's correct.
And if you were to take a cell phone extraction and compare the number of, let's say, calls between two parties on any particular day and find, let's say, no calls or no text messages, and then you were to compare those to records from the service provider, such as Verizon, and they didn't match up, could that possibly be explained by things being deleted directly from the cell phone?
Yes.
Now, after you perform a cell phone extraction, how do you verify the results?
So we have something called hash value. So a hash is kind of like a social security number or a fingerprint. So whenever you forensically image something, it's like a mathematical algorithm that makes sure that file or image cannot be reproduced or copied or faked. And that lets us know that we have an original and true copy of the evidence.
And so that's how you verify that nothing's been altered with or changed since you received the phone.
Correct.
In January of 2021, did you receive a search warrant from Detective Barnes with DPD/ATF asking you to perform a cell phone extraction on a phone belonging to the defendant, Darrin Lopez?
Yes, I did.
And actually, let me grab another document while I'm up here. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 91. Does this appear to be the search warrant that you received asking you to perform the cell phone extraction on that phone?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and we see it's for a Samsung Galaxy phone, correct?
Correct.
And the IMSI, or as you told me, MC number is 311-48052. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Your Honor, at this time the State would offer State's Exhibit 91 for record purposes only.
No objection.
Submitted for record purposes only.
And Agent Sims, did you then perform the cell phone extraction as requested in that search warrant?
I did.
And when you performed that cell phone extraction, would you have followed the standard procedures and protocols that you just described to the jury?
Yes, I would have.
And would you have taken the verification steps with the hash value like you explained?
Yes.
Okay. And if anything unusual had happened or any errors had come up, would you have noted that in your findings?
I would.
Okay. Did that happen in this case?
No, it did not.
After you performed the phone dump, would you have generated a report with your findings?
Yes.
And I'm showing you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 92. Is that a report that you generated following the cell phone extraction you performed in this case?
Yes.
And I'm also going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 93. This is a flash drive, and you had the opportunity to review it with another prosecutor this morning. Is that right?
That's correct.
And did you confirm that this does in fact contain the complete cell phone extraction that you performed on the defendant's phone dump that we've been talking about here?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, the State would offer State's Exhibit 92 for all purposes and State's Exhibit 93 for record purposes only.
This for all purposes.
No objections. finally going to object to something. So first, Ken Jennings is the assistant lawyer. He has all the answers.
No objection.
No objection. We're just stalling, and then we're going to fold our hand.
3 for record purposes only, right?
Watch poker.
And the other one is for all purposes. That's 92?
Yes, Judge.
Yep.
Thank you.
You may publish. 92.
His defense is that he was acting in a way that he
Now,
thought
before we
was
get into
appropriate.
the contents of State's Exhibit 92, I want to ask you a little bit about your role in this investigation. Were you given sort of the general context of the investigation so you would know what to look for on the phone dump?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And do you have personal knowledge of the complete workings of the investigation?
No, I do not.
For instance, you and I were recently talking, and I had mentioned some emails that came up, but you actually didn't have anything to do with those email records. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and you weren't even aware of them until I mentioned them to you. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, so your role is more focused on just this cell phone extraction.
Correct.
And I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 94. Is this a screenshot of the Cellbrite window when you perform that cell phone extraction on the defendant's cell phone?
Yes, it is.
And it shows here the same identifying information as well as your name as the examiner?
Correct.
I'll offer State's Exhibit 94 for all purposes.
He brought his folder, but he didn't have the information he needed in it. He's going to be back. They're going to recall him, I think.
No objection.
Thank you, Judge. Okay, Agent Sims, let's just, so the jury understands and is aware, let's look first at State's Exhibit 94. And this is that screenshot we were talking about. So is this what Cellbrite looks like when you open it up to view a cell phone extraction?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And so we can see over here to the left, we have identifying information. We have information about the date that the extraction was performed in January. And then sort of towards the bottom left, we see some identifying information related to the phone. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and so here we get Verizon and this phone number as well, correct?
Correct.
And then over to the right, we can see where there are certain content and data listed, and that's going to include contacts, calendar, call log, things of that nature.
Correct.
Okay. Now,
It's a nice white screen.
I'm going to show State's Exhibit 92. And this is the front page of the report you generated following the cell phone extraction. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And during your analysis, did you find information that you believed to be relevant or potentially helpful or interesting to the detectives on the case?
Yes, I did.
And as we flip through, well, would you have notified them that you had found some of that information?
Yes, I would have.
Okay, and if we flip to page 3 of State's Exhibit 92, we see here you've identified some text messages that could be interesting. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And we see here there is an outgoing message found on the defendant's phone on November 30th, 2020. I love you. Hope you get this. And then we see another outgoing text message on 11/30/2020. Okay, reset my phone, deleted old texts. I would erase and they would pop back up. Looks like they are erased now, not sure what was going on. And what grabbed your attention about that message?
Just the fact that the two people in the conversation were discussing deleting text messages. I felt like it was relevant to the case.
And now you had been given information before this about specific dates that might be relevant, such as the date of the shooting, dates of arrest, things like that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then did you also find some sexually explicit messages between those two same parties?
Yes, here's your warning.
So we here see on page 4 a thread of fairly explicit messages between the two parties. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And they would be of a sexually graphic nature, is that fair to say?
Yes.
And those messages would have been on November 30th, 2020, around 7:15 p.m. over the next few minutes?
That's correct.
You don't need to retype anything you see on the screen at this point.
And were you aware that the nature of the relationship between the parties involved in this case was something that would be important?
Yes.
Please don't read them. Please don't read them.
And based on the dates that you were given, you were made aware that those text messages that we just read would have been after the shooting had occurred?
Yes.
And then I want to talk to you just a little bit about some messages that we see on page 6. Can you read that message for me at the bottom?
The sentence starts, so I woke up in a little bit of a panic. Something is eating away at me, telling me you need to take the sticker out of the back window of the truck.
Okay, and we see that that was an incoming message to the defendant's phone on December 4th, 2020. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And had you been made aware that there was a sticker on the back of a truck that was relevant to this case?
Yes, I was.
And then on page 8, just a little less than 2 days later, on 12/6/2020, we see an outgoing text that says sticker done, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Suggesting that the defendant had quickly complied with that request. Fair to say?
Yes.
And then there are a number of other texts that you included in your report that you had identified as potentially relevant or interesting to the detectives. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Agent Sims, could you please explain for the jury what UTC is, just generally?
So generally, UTC is what we call Universal Coordinated Time, where you guys, through movies, may have heard of Zulu time. So that's a international agreed upon time that keeps people from getting confused with time zones. So here we are UTC -5 or UTC -6, which is the Central Standard Time Zone.
Okay, so when you perform a cell phone extraction, does it generally, everything comes up as UTC time?
Correct.
And then you can actually go in and set the project to convert it to the correct time zone.
That's correct.
So, for instance, when we're looking at records on this case, we may see a lot of a timestamp and then it'll say UTC -5 or UTC -6, depending on daylight savings.
Correct.
Did I at some point ask you to review a short set of messages that seemed to not be in UTC time?
Yes, you did.
And did we determine that those messages came from LinkedIn?
Yes, we did.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 95, excuse me. And this is a Cellbrite report generated showing the LinkedIn messages. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I'll offer State's Exhibit 95 for all purposes.
No objection, Your Honor.
It's admitted. You may publish.
Thank you. And Agent Simpson, the jury can see what we're talking about. If we look at State's Exhibit 95, we see up at the top the Cellbrite heading, and then Darrin Lopez is the owner, and Jennifer Faith is the other participant in this conversation, right?
Yes.
Okay. And just so we're all on the same page about where it all came from, if we zoom into this really tiny text, we can see here where it says LinkedIn.android. Is that giving you some kind of file delineation in the cell phone extraction?
Yes, it is.
And here we can see this message. The first one, I'll read it. Hello, wow, great to see you. Would like to connect back with you through email if I can. Mine is drlp75@hotmail.com. Can you send me yours? I hope you are doing great and happy. Talk with you soon, Darrin. And then at the bottom we see this timestamp on that says March 17th, 2020, 3:49:23 a.m. And is that timestamp unusual compared to the other messages on the phone?
Yes.
And how so?
It's not delineated as a UTC time.
Okay. And I had asked you if there was a potential explanation for that. Do you have any potential explanations for why that might have happened with these messages?
Yeah, sometimes on your cell phones or whether it's Android or Apple, the application itself manages its own time. So in this case, I believe that LinkedIn is managing its time. It may be that time on the paper may be the time on the LinkedIn server or within the actual application itself.
Okay, so the timestamps on this may be off. It's fair to say?
Correct.
Okay, so these messages may be something where we have to rely more on context to determine when they happened.
Correct.
Okay. And just because we have them up, I'll go ahead and the next message on States Exhibit 95 is, "Hi Darrin, wow, was I surprised to hear from you. I hope you understand if I am a bit skittish in responding, but my email is jennifererlob@gmail.com. How do I know this is really you? But I also hope you are doing great and are happy, Jen." And then how does he respond?
The response states, "Would it help if I called you Angel and as you wish, Darrin?"
And she says, "Yep, that did it. Ha ha ha. Send me an email and let me know how you are. Excited to talk to you." And those messages do appear to go back and forth within less than an hour. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, the next thing I want to ask you about is, I contacted you recently about an image that was located on the cell phone extraction. Is that right?
That's correct.
And I sent you a screenshot of the image from Cellbrite with the file info. Is that right?
That's correct.
And is that what we see here in 96?
Yes.
And this image in States Exhibit number 96, did you then go and pull up the actual cell phone extraction to verify all of this information?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And you were able to locate this file in the cell phone extraction?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time we offer States Exhibit 96 for all purposes.
I don't know what to do here. We'll see what happens.
No objection, Your Honor.
It's admitted. You may publish.
Thank you, Judge. And Agent Simpson, States Exhibit 96. You see here up at the top, and it's fairly small, it appears to be an image of a hand choking a throat, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And it is actually a small image on the phone, right?
That's correct.
And why is it small on the phone?
So that's what we consider called a thumbnail image. So whenever you download something to your Outlook or you go open a website on your phone, the phone will actually save that image in what's called a cache file, and so I could pull it up in the future if you decide to look at it again.
And so this image presumably then would have been saved on the phone because it was opened in an email of some sort.
Possibly, yes, that's correct.
And so it's possible it could be an email from another person, right?
That's correct.
Is it also possible that if the defendant had emailed this image to himself, that it would have appeared in his cache?
Correct.
Thank you, Agent Sims. We'll pass the witness.
Cross-examination, Mr. Duke.
Thank you, Judge.
And she folded
Good
her
afternoon,
arm
Agent
too.
Sims. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Agent Sims, I want to talk to you for just a minute about the deleted messages that Ms. Paver spoke to you about. The cell phone or the text messages that went back and forth looked that Ms. Faith was directing Mr. Lopez to delete everything off of his phone. Is that right?
Are you asking me if she's directed him to delete the text messages? I can't state that.
Let's look at them again. If I can see states 92, the extraction report. And forgive me if it takes me a second to get over to what we were talking about there. Ms. Paver might be able to find it faster.
But she's not going to help him. You've got to find it yourself. Conan O'Brien, the attorney. It's got a couple references for what he looks like. So far, they're not sharing the details of the message, and I think that's great because I don't think it's pertinent to the case. Just establishing that they were sexual in nature and an agreement there, I think that's enough. Hopefully, we don't go any further.
So, from this, on November 30th, he's responding to a message at this point. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And informing Ms. Faith, reset my phone, deleted old text. I would erase it and they would pop back up. Is that right?
Mr.
Correct.
Would you mind? You might need to zoom.
Oh, my apologies. I wasn't looking up there. We'll come back up there. And we're looking at this from November 30th of 2020. So this is after the date of Jamie Faith's murder. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Mr. Lopez is texting to Jennifer Faith that he says, okay, reset my phone and deleted old texts. Okay. But he did not, did he?
We recovered the texts that were shown from the screenshot is what we recovered. So,
okay. If he had reset his phone, would this information have been available?
If he had reset the phone and then used it again, then yes.
Okay, the information after the reset would have been used. You would have found the information after the reset.
Cellbrite could have recovered it,
but not the stuff before the reset.
If we did a physical extraction with the phone, it's possible to recover old text messages. Possible,
but not probable that you would have had this level of content.
So what's shown on the screenshot is what we recovered.
Okay. What I'm trying to get to, Detective, is that Darrin Lopez didn't actually reset his phone and delete all of this information. You were able to get it. Is that right?
That's correct.
They recovered a cell phone from Jennifer Faith as well. Is that right?
I don't know.
Okay. Were you ever asked to perform a cell phone extraction on Jennifer Faith's phone?
Not that I recall.
Were you made aware that they recovered a cell phone from her on the same day that Darrin Lopez was arrested?
Yes.
Okay. But you were never given that, so presumably they knew that she had done enough to get rid of all of that information.
I don't understand the question.
If you can answer the question, you can answer it.
If you can answer, you can answer.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Let me see. You never got Jennifer Faith's cell phone?
No, I did not.
Okay. So presumably they knew that she had done something where you weren't going to get the same extraction like you did from Mr. Lopez's cell phone.
Objection. I don't know how he could possibly answer that question.
Do you have any personal knowledge of that?
I do not.
Okay. Then the objection system.
Thank you. All right. Darrin Lopez did not delete the information in question. Is that right?
So the information on the extraction was not deleted. Cellbrite was able to recover that information.
And you would have been able to, your Cellbrite extraction would have been able to show if he made efforts to delete that information or reset the phone in some way, right?
Yes.
And you have no evidence of that he did that at all?
Not that I can see on the extraction.
Just as a housekeeping, this was returned as a federal warrant, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that federal warrant, if you look on the front page here, can you tell the jury what case number that is for?
Case number, and I'll read it phonetically, Delta Alpha 37.
Oscar Sierra.
Oscar Sierra 21. Delta Alpha 0001.
Had to prompt him a little bit, but he got
that case number, the current case title was?
Forensic examination of Darrin Lopez's Samsung Galaxy Note.
And that was the report title. The current case title was what?
Capital murder investigation of Darrin Lopez.
And so this was originally returned looking into the capital case against Jennifer Faith and Darrin Lopez. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Darrin Lopez ultimately was not federally charged, correct?
So as a supervisor, this is an internal case file. I decide what the case file is going to be named.
Okay, so that's just a name that you made up at this point?
Yes.
We found in Texas before that the counsel sits during questioning. That's just how some courts do it.
The last exhibit
They want to say Jennifer Lopez.
that the state talked to you about, number 96. So just so that the jury is clear from this cache, you can tell when this image was put into Darrin Lopez's cache. Is that right?
Yes. So if you zoom in on the path section, it gives you kind of like a path, if you will. So it's located in the data section under Microsoft Office Outlook /cache. And then, the file was downloaded because it's in the files-download section. And it gives a file name, which is 51628.jpeg.
Okay. And that image was created when, according to this file?
According to this file, so the modified dates, which is whenever the file was saved to the phone, is 5/13/2020.
Okay. So Darrin Lopez received and saved it to the file May 13th of 2020.
That's what it delineates on the file.
So if somebody had texted that image to him on May 13th of 2020, then that would end up in his cache if he downloaded it and saved it, correct?
So what I'm looking at is showing in the Outlook file, in the Outlook folder, Outlook cache folder. So I don't know about any text messages.
Okay. So in this instance, it looks like it was emailed to him.
So in this instance, where I located this file was in the Outlook cache folder. So
Outlook would be an email, correct?
Correct.
So the image was emailed to him on May 13th of 2020.
So this is saying that it was accessed. So I don't know if it was emailed or not, but this is where it was saved.
Okay. So it was saved to his phone May 13th, 2020.
Correct.
Agent Sims, when phones get full of information, is a frequent response or suggestion from tech support to remove some of that data?
Can you state the question again, please?
When phones have a copious amount of data on them, they can start slowing down and gumming up. Is that right?
That's correct.
So people frequently, either on their own, will remove some of that data, or even they're frequently told by tech support or otherwise to remove some of that data. Is that right?
Correct.
Pass, please.
Just briefly, Your Honor. Agent Sims, now I didn't direct your attention specifically to deleted messages in the cell phone dump before you came today. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
If there are deleted messages in the cell phone extraction that were recovered, as you mentioned, they would show up with the little red X on them, right?
Yeah, so on the screenshot, it had a red numbers. So that's how it would show up in Cellbrite, either red X or like a red number.
Okay, there would be something pretty clearly depicting that these are recovered deleted messages.
Correct.
Thank you. We'll pass the witness.
Nothing further, Judge.
Will he be finally excused or subject to recall?
No objection.
No objection.
Very good, sir. You may stand down. You're excused from any further service. Members of the jury, looks like a good natural stopping point for a break. So if you would, please be back in the jury room at 2:35. Ready to come back in. Please don't discuss the case among yourselves and don't do any independent research. All rise for the jurors.
So he gives us 15-minute breaks and 45-minute lunch. This judge is not messing around. Defendant stands at attention. Probably years in military has instilled that in him. But there he is. So we have a 15-minute break here. Yoga time. It's quiet. It's weird not having kids riding wiggle carts through the hallways and stuff behind me. This is crazy. Does it seem to y'all that a good part of what Lopez has seen today is a surprise to him? There have been a couple things that he's become somewhat animated about. I think the first time I noticed it was when they showed the duct tape on the roof. That he seemed to, something about that got his attention. And then we had another moment as well that he was interested in it. DoorDash tonight. No, I'm gonna cook. I'm not gonna order out. I've got plenty of food here. What is this expert's name again? I don't think he was an expert. He wasn't presented as an expert, was he? He has expertise in Cellbrite. He works with Homeland Security, Secret Service. The guy's basically like Captain America. So that's who he is. He's a special agent. Yep. Working on the federal side of this investigation. Darrin was in the Army for 26 years. He knows how to stand at attention. Feel bad for the dude, just so unfortunate for all involved. Yeah, he does seem to have walked into a trap. Where, if we get the testimony that was presented in the 48-hour special and has been brought up in the initial questioning of the binder witness, the guy with the huge binder, the folder, when they recall him and are asking him about things, they might talk about this Jennifer asking or trying to get a previous. Basically doing the same thing once before that she did right here. And he backed out of it and said, nope, not for me. So we'll see if that gets brought in. That'll be important. Okay. Special agent. He's been everything. Yep, he's good. Hey, we've got Ivan on the phone. Hold on just one second.
Call from.
Ivan, my friend, how are you doing?
Good. Been a while.
It has been a little bit. Welcome back.
Yeah.
It's my fault, not yours. I've been on vacations.
Hey, everybody deserves a moment or two to decompress,
Yeah.
Although it sounds like you didn't do much of that. It sounds like you had quite the adventure of a trip, man. I'm glad everybody's okay. That's scary stuff, dude.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. What can I say?
Yeah. How's the little guy holding up? Is he recovering good, or?
Yeah, he's out. I think he's at a biology class on a boat in the ocean right now. So he's doing an ocean biology. Yeah, so I guess he's fully recovered if he can get back on the deep water and not have a problem. So
man, you're so resilient, huh?
Yeah,
I tell you,
kids.
I tell you, this is a very unique case. I've never quite seen the knight in shining armor defense. That's a new one for me.
Yeah,
I don't believe
it's strange. Not guilty because. Hang on, someone's leaving me a message. Hang on. What's funny is one of my kids' friends. Sorry about the segue here. One of my kids' friends calls over and over and over, and just will keep calling until he gets the right person to answer the phone. If I say hello, he'll hang up. And then he'll call back 5 seconds later and wait and hope somebody else answers the phone because he wants the person he wants to talk to answer the phone, and he's just shy about asking. Anyway, so I think that's what's going on.
Back in the day of landlines, when in junior high or even in high school, when girls would call the house for me, and my dad's thundering voice would answer the phone, they'd get scared and hang up.
Click. That's it.
We had one phone in the house connected to a cord.
So you were saying the white knight defense. That's basically what they're doing. They're saying, I'm the good guy. I showed up to save her and shot the bad guy and then realized that I had been played. But
right. So I'm the benevolent martyr who fell on the sword for this dame.
Or fell on the trigger in this case. But
right.
Yeah, 7 shots. It's a crime of passion, I think you could say.
As much as there are a lot of ways to empathize with this guy, I just can't see it justifying what happened because, like everybody has reiterated, but like if for some reason this jury balks, or there's somebody who's, there might be a sympathetic, person on that jury, but even if there are, if he gets off state, I fully expect the feds to come at him because they have him. Federally, you can't bring there's no question.
Crossing the state line with intent. That's not good. And
That's as federal as it gets.
They've got everything. He didn't try to hide the gun. He didn't try to hide the truck. He didn't rent a car, as you mentioned in chat. He didn't even delete his messages. He told her he did and didn't. And all the evidence is right there to nail him to the wall. And we'll see if the jury.
I know I've mentioned this story a couple other times, but like it reminds me of the guy who was supposed to get out in less than 60 days, and they called him down to administrative building. And they said, your girlfriend won't be picking you up. In fact, the marshals will be transporting you to the federal holding tank after he just did 5 years for the same exact charge. Because double jeopardy doesn't work that way when you're getting charged state and federally. They can pin you 2 times for the same action.
They're double dipping. That's just not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
And they often do. I mean, especially if they really want to make a point of it. Right. So anyway, I just figured I'd call in and say, hey, it's been a while, but glad everything worked out. Good to see everybody, and have a great week, everybody.
Awesome, Ivan. Good to hear from you. Thank you very much, and we'll watch you in chat.
All right, love you guys.
See you. Bye. Awesome. Let's see. Why are my passwords not working? Man. If I just screwed up my request. Oh, let's see. That was Dallas County. Okay. Sorry. I just filed a request for hopefully for some dash cam footage for a police chase that just ended in Weatherwatch's part of the world, as he clued us in on a big police chase with a U-Haul that ended in the golf course. This sounds like one we definitely want to follow. So I just put in a request for that. It just happened about an hour or so ago. So I wanted to get first dibs on the video. So hopefully that'll come through here. But that request is in. Good. Is Texas on Central Time? Just wondering when they will wrap up for the day. Yes, they are. This is their afternoon break, so we are 3/4 of the way through the day. So we're probably going to be done 4:30 or so. I think maybe 2 more hours, and that would be it. Well, it's 3:30 my time, so 5:30. Yeah, it's going to be a regular day, I think. I don't know. The judge takes a short lunch. Maybe it's because he wants to get out of work early in the evenings, just so he can get his time in. I have not finished my Boone letter. It's actually still pulled up, and it's very blank. I haven't got everything entered in that I need. Let's see, what happened to the girl that hired him? Mary, the girl that hired him, she wasn't actually hired him. There was no money there was money that changed hands, and a lot of it, but it was after the fact. And it wasn't really a murder for hire. It was tricking a former boyfriend into killing your husband, and then perpetuating this story and sending him gifts and things to keep him on your side. So her name is Jennifer Faith. Jamie Faith was the husband who was shot and killed. But Jennifer Faith was charged originally with obstruction for some of what we saw today. The email saying, hey, you need to take that sticker out of your truck window. You need to delete your text messages. That is obstruction of justice. That's not allowed. And so they charged her with that initially, and then as they dug further into this and found all the messages and the everything else, they realized that they had her for more than that. And so they were going to charge her with murder. She ended up taking a plea deal to get the death penalty off the table. So she is life in prison without parole. And that's where she's at. So I don't think she's going to be testifying. I haven't heard that she would anyway. Want to crowdsource the Sarah Boone letter through us on a Google Doc? That's a great idea, Greeners. We should put it up for everyone to add their little bit. Man. Okay, let's see. I think I can do this. Let's get a Google Doc for me. Open a new document. We're going to call it the Sarah Boone letter. Greeners, I like this idea. I really do. We're going to use a letter. No, not that one. Oh, too late. I guess I clicked on it. I get what I get. All right. Feel free to edit the format or anything here. This is going to be the Sarah Boone letter. I just know that the purpose of this letter is to ask her to consider coming on the show, I believe after the trial. After the trial, we'd like to, to have her piece, and I'm willing to put some money on her account so that there's no money out of her pocket, so she would be able to to call us, because I believe it would have to be a collect call. We can sort that out. Let's see. Let's share this guy. We're going to share it to everybody. This is probably a bad idea. Anybody with the link, copy the link. There we go. Live stream. All right. There's our document. It's a shell right now. It's a template. That's all it is. But there it is. If you fancy yourself as a bit of a letter writer, if you think your command of the English language is such that it would impress even the great, the almost always excellent Sarah Boone, maybe it's time to dabble your fingers on the keyboard in this document and put together some pertinent phrases that might tickle her fancy and get her to concede to come on the show after the trial. We need edit access. Did I not give you edit access? Hold on one second. People with access settings. How did I not give you edit access? Oh, I need to change it to editor. Anyone with the link. Copy link. Done. Okay, did that work? We don't want any images, anything. It is Latin. It is Latin. It's just a placeholder. We don't need graphics. We don't need charts. We don't need videos linked in this. This is just going to be a text letter, and I'd like to keep it probably to one page. One page. It is fake Latin. But it means nothing. It's a template, probably built by AI. How long is this trial going to go to? At the rate they're going, they should be done by this evening. They are so fast. We've had like 10 witnesses already, and opening statements. It's gone super, super fast. But I don't know the actual allotted time for it. Just send her the Latin. That would impress her. She could read it. I'm sure she would understand it. It's funny. I want to watch the letter as it gets built. Well, let's see. We've got 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 people in here typing away. Just realize that you're all typing at the same time. Maybe if you can just anonymous otter, anonymous gopher, anonymous bat. These are people that they're editing it. Mink is currently doing just the intro. Dear Miss Boone. There we go. Anonymous Kraken's up there. Hand delivered at the top. Who put hand delivered? I'm not going to hand deliver this to Sarah Boone. That's not going to happen. Good times though watching this. Hand delivered was me, says Greeners. Anyway, let's see. We have the reason I honestly I would like to talk to Sarah Boone after her trial. I realize that we probably could get her to call before her trial, but I don't think that is in her best interest. And I want her to have a fair trial. I don't want her to be able to cite us as a reason why she did not get a trial. We've got like 30 people in here editing. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take all the Latin, and I'm going to just go ahead and delete that. Okay. Oh man, you guys are on the ball. You're starting with definitions. She would understand sincerity. Oh my goodness, this is good. You guys are great. I need to plug this in so you guys. I'm going to see if this would. If this will work now. I forgot to restart my computer during the lunch break. I was so interested in cooking my Chinese that I did not get it done. So let's see. It says it's working. Camera 7. Camera 3. It's not. Man. Bummer. All right. So I'm not able to put it up on screen, unfortunately. But we'll get there. Red Pen, I gave you permission to edit. I used the second link. The second link has edit permissions. I see people editing all over the place. We might have to send it to one of you just for sincerity was also me. Please, whoever uses Recovery Addict as a source, please keep it classy. Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that. Appreciate you guys doing that. Yeah, we don't want to offend her. We're not trying to offend Sarah Boone. I honestly think at the end of this trial, she will feel like she did not get the chance to say what she wanted to say. Even if she testifies in her own defense, I think this, because her lawyer is not just going to let her free spool and talk about stuff. He's not going to ask the right questions, I think. So she'll leave the stand saying, "But you don't understand. You guys don't get it." You know, and so we want to give her a chance to let us understand. Let her explain. Remember to count the days in your letter. It's been this many days since we last read one of your letters. It's like a class project. Okay. This is great. I love that everyone's all over the place. I realize the involvement in this letter is going to die down a little bit. I'm only going to put the link up there once. So you guys will have to sort this out. Probably tonight it will probably start taking shape as it gets molded and sculpted into its final project. I'm a professional YouTuber, but I'm not like all the other ones. Dear Miss Future Wife of Adam, who has said this? Oh my goodness. P.S. What brand of suitcase do you recommend? It's funny to see so many people in a document. Where's the link? You have to scroll up to the link. It's one that looks like this. It's up a little bit. Anyway, do we ask what we're doing? We're crowdsourcing the letter to Sarah Boone. How long is the break? We're going to be back here in about four or 5 minutes, or actually sooner. There's the judge doing the whole. Oh, did you see him back out of the screen? Pop up, do a little pirouette, and back out. Usually breaks are 15 minutes. We have 31 people editing the letter at once right now. Some of you are just reading. I can see you just monitoring. But the PS was me. We may have to edit. Just because you put it in the letter does not mean it will necessarily stay in the letter. We will edit this down to be professional, respectful, and maybe even some of the funny stuff that really makes us laugh will have to go. Man, the judge just likes his time in the spotlight. Look at his commanding presence there in front of the seal. Mandy, it did. Looks like the jury's coming into the courtroom right now.
Thank you, Sheriff. Can we be seated? Who's the next witness?
The next witness is Agent Mark Sedwick.
Agent Mark Sedwick is going to be our next witness.
The witness stand, could you please turn to face the raise your hand? Where the testimony you're about to give will be the truth.
Yes, Your Honor.
Please have a seat.
I had to go grab some more water. I'm all out.
Questions first from Ms. Mitchell. And either Mr. Duke or Mr. Sanchez to your left. You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury and state your name for the record?
Mark Sedwick. Last name is spelled Sedwick. I'm a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation out of the Dallas office.
How long have you been with the FBI?
Just under 25 years.
And what do you do for the FBI at this time?
I'm a member of the CAS team, or the Cellular Analysis Survey Team.
Can you explain to the jury what that is?
The CAS team is a group of specially trained agents and task force officers who have been certified as experts in the analysis of historical call detail records.
And what kind of training have you had regarding the historical call detail record analysis?
I've had training initially over 400 hours from other FBI agents, outside companies on how radio frequency works, which is how the cell phone and the tower communicate over radio frequency. But most importantly, I've been trained by the engineers from the major service providers in the U.S., AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, on how the networks operate and how the phones interact with the network.
Okay, so you're very familiar with how these networks operate, and then they're constantly updating all the time. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So does that mean you're having to get training all the time?
We have a yearly recertification where we'll come, all the CAS agents throughout the country will come together, and during that we will bring in an engineer and the subpoena compliance or the law enforcement liaison groups from all the major service providers, and then we'll have other speakers come in to talk with us to get recertified.
How long have you been on this CAS team for the FBI?
Since full-time since 2014.
Okay. And is this what you do almost exclusively or no?
I do this exclusively investigatively, and I'm also a member of the Dallas SWAT team for the FBI and the division.
Do you think he dyes his hair or bleaches it?
You were asked to do an analysis being part of the cellular analysis survey team regarding a case against Darrin Lopez. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what were you asked to do?
I was provided records for the cell phone associated with Mr. Lopez, and also a Google Gmail account associated with Mr. Lopez, and I was asked to plot the location data associated with both of those accounts to show where the device was during a specific time frame.
Okay. And again, we can't say where the person was, right? We can only say where the device was.
Yes, ma'am. Whenever I talk about it, I'll refer to the phone number. I'm only talking about the device. I can't say who was in possession of the device at any time.
Okay. There's usually some corroborating evidence that shows that a human was actually with the device. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, usually.
Okay. And do you remember who asked you to create this report using the records, the Google records and the CDR records?
Originally, it was Assistant U.S. United States Attorney, and I am blanking on who it was at this time.
All right. And then what information are you given for you to create this report that you do?
In this case, I'm provided with, from the prosecution or the investigators, I'll be provided specific date and times and locations that are of importance, like a crime scene, any other locations and a time frame. But then I'll receive the records that were received through legal process from, in this case, Verizon Wireless and Google. That gives me my call detail records or CDRs, and then my Google data in this case.
All right. And did you make a report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mayor. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 97. Take a look at that and make sure it's the same report that you do have.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
All right. And you created this report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And this is just a copy of this report?
Yes, ma'am.
And you keep your records at the FBI?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to offer to evidence State's Exhibit 97, the CAST report for all purposes.
This is just location information, right? So this will be IP addresses, geolocation for internet access, as well as cell tower ping info. This will show the route he took to and from Texas from Tennessee.
No objection.
Submitted. You may publish.
Thank you.
They've not objected to any evidence yet.
Okay, and Agent Sedwick, we'll just kind of start at the beginning so they can see.
Mood lighting.
This is the report that you send out, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that you're the special agent that's doing it, and then the telephone number of the provider's Verizon, and the telephone number for Darrin Lopez.
The number I was told associated with Mr. Lopez, and then the date that the report was finalized.
Okay. Now, on page 2...
We're looking at a printout of a PowerPoint.
What is the point of page 2?
This is the written report, and basically I was asked to look for this time frame of October 8th and 9th because of a homicide that occurred. The methodology is I take the call detail records, which is your phone bill. It has the date and time a call was made, the two numbers involved, but it also has the tower and sector of that the device used for that call. And based on that, I can determine the approximate location the device had to be by knowing where that tower is in the world and then the other towers around it. I can determine the approximate location that device had to be. I also, in this case, had Google location data, which is if you have an Android device or a Gmail account associated with your device, your phone is constantly giving up its location to Google. And that can be based on Wi-Fi or GPS. It can also be based on cell tower, but we don't use the cell tower because it can be historical. It cannot be, the timestamp can be off on that. So we will use the GPS or Wi-Fi data collected by Google that the phone sends back to Google, and that is given a report that gives you a latitude and longitude, the time that occurred, and then a level of uncertainty in meters. So basically it's I can put a pinpoint and then a circle, and the device was somewhere within that circle.
Okay, and so, and I'm certainly not very good at this, but even if the phone is on, let's say, in airplane mode, is it your testimony that Google can still extract
the
data?
witness is breathing
Yes,
down the
if
mic.
you put your phone in in airplane mode, as long as the phone is on. You can put it in airplane mode, you can turn your Wi-Fi off. Your device is actually still looking for those Wi-Fi signals and everything. So what will happen is it'll store all that location data, and as soon as you connect your device back to the network or to a Wi-Fi and turn it back on, basically, not turn it back on, but re-establish either Wi-Fi or cellular connectivity, it'll dump all that data it has back to Google. And that is what one of the things I used for location in this case was those records provided by Google.
And when we're talking about the call detail records from the provider like Verizon,
yes, ma'am.
Those are records that cannot be manipulated by the person who owns the phone. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. The Google records, the end user can delete that data. They can't modify it, but they can go in and actually delete their Google history from Google. But the CDR, the owner of the device, has no control over those records. Those are the business records of, in this case, Verizon.
And then conclusions. What did you?
That's basically my conclusions will be in the following slides, what my analysis showed.
All right, let's start with page number 3. Can you explain to the jury just quickly what we're looking at here and what you're trying to show?
Yes. This is basically the standard cell tower in the United States. Each cell tower, I think everyone's seen them on the side of the highway, but they're broken up into 3 sectors or pieces of pie that cover approximately 120 degrees. They're 360 degrees in a circle, so they cover that full circle. In the records, I'll be given the azimuth or orientation of that tower, and what that is what direction the center of that tower is pointed. So the coverage area will be 60 degrees to either side of that azimuth. And in this case, if I'm given an azimuth of 60 degrees, the tower will cover, that sector will approximately cover from 0 to 120 degrees, or on a clock face, 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock, because every 30 degrees is equal to an hour on a clock face.
All right, and then on page 4.
Look at the little disclaimer on the bottom.
This is just how I'll show the CDR, the cell tower usage. What you see is the point, the bottom of the apex, that's the cell tower. In this case, this tower is pointed north. You have the 2 sector arms going out that 60 degrees to either side, and then you have that shaded area, and that is just to show how the energy is going out, kind of in an upside down funnel shape. That is not indicative of the entire coverage area of that tower. That's just to show how kind of the energy is going out. I can't say exactly where the coverage of a tower ends, but just based on my training and the other towers in the area, I can determine the approximate coverage area of that cell tower.
All right, and here we have, again, what we were talking about earlier, some of the information that you're given to by either agents or
this is PowerPoint they printed off.
Agencies that they kind of want to give some context to. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. So I was provided the records for Verizon for telephone number 615 630-3046 associated with Darrin Lopez, and also the Google data associated with that phone number through the email address associated with that phone number. I was also given the phone number for Jennifer Faith ending in 4240. And then I was also provided 4 addresses of interest. The victim's residence, 926 South Waverly Drive in Dallas. Mr. Lopez's residence, 1285 Sweet Home Road in Cumberland Furnace, Tennessee. And then 2 truck stops, a Pilot Travel Center, 2320 Highway 46 South in Dixon, Tennessee. And then Flying J Truck Stop, 3400 Service Loop Road, West Memphis, Arkansas.
All right, and do we start the analysis here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So I was basically asked to look where the device was on October 9th, in the morning of October 9th, and then where it was, or if did it travel into the area. So I basically started my analysis on October 8th, 2020, 1:07 p.m. to 1:16 p.m. And what you have here is there are several Google locations between 1 and 1:16 p.m. of 20 to 77 meters, but they're all basically centered on his residence. So that device is somewhere very close to his residence. And then there was there were no phone calls, but in that 7-minute time frame between 1 and 1:07 p.m., the 2 devices associated with Mr. Lopez and Miss Faith, they exchanged 27 text messages in that 7 minutes.
27.
And Verizon,
7 minutes.
T-Mobile and AT&T will provide you the cell tower and sector off a text. Verizon does not provide that. So I can see in the records that the text occurred, but I have no location data for those texts.
All right, and then what are we showing here? You kind of zoomed out now, and now we have a larger view of...
Yes, so what we have now is the device has started to move. This is from 1:26 to 1:51 p.m., and each of the red flags is a Google hit, and I didn't label all of them, but at 1:26 it's south of his residence, and then at 1:51 p.m. it is now near the Pilot Travel Center south of his residence. So it's just showing the phone has started to leave the area of the residence and is traveling south.
Okay, so we can see you have Cumberland Furnace, and you have Darrin Lopez's residence, and then you have the movement going south. What you said, south?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then what are you showing here?
This is from 1:53 to 2:19 p.m. The device is, the Google data is showing the device in the area of the Pilot truck stop. And then I was also told that at 1:57 p.m. There was a receipt from the Pilot Travel Center from Mr. Lopez, I'm assuming getting gas.
Okay, and again, because you
Must have got some food too.
If a human is moving, you can only say the device is moving, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So putting the device at the Pilot Center around the same time that you show a receipt from the Pilot Center would be corroboration.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, and can you continue?
Yes, ma'am. So now we are from October, again on the 8th, from 2:21 p.m. to 4:37 p.m., and just showing the device is moving east. And you can see that there are gaps in the Google data. I can only plot what Google provided. But there are some gaps, but it shows the device traveling east towards Memphis between 2:36 and 4:37 p.m. So I'm just showing west, that the device is still traveling west at this point.
It looks west to me.
Okay, and the time is just continuing to go move forward.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and here we've got another specific stop.
Yes, ma'am. From 5:14 to 5:17 p.m. I have Google data that puts it in the area of the Flying J truck stop, and there was another receipt 5:10 p.m. So 4 minutes before there was a receipt, before there was any Google data, but shows the device in the area of that Flying J truck stop.
And again, we continue to move. And where are we going now?
We're still traveling west. This is between Memphis and towards Little Rock, between 5:39 p.m. to 6:55 p.m., and the device continues to travel west.
All right. Page 12.
We've now moved to October 9th. There is a gap with no Google data. This is the next data. This is 1:47 to 1:50 a.m., and it shows the device off the Google data south of Dallas at this point at 1:47 to 1:50 a.m.
Okay, so now we're traveling on 35. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Or
In the vicinity of travel of 35.
And
yes, ma'am.
Kind of south of Red Oak, Glen Heights, DeSoto.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Can you go over this for the jury? This is page 13 of the report.
Yes, ma'am. Now the device, we've jumped in time to 2:09 a.m. to 2:12 a.m., and we have several hits near 35 north of West 12th Street, just north, basically, of the Dallas Zoo.
There's no way this trial is going to take longer than a week. I think in 3 days.
At this time.
All right, and we see that the victim's residence is
In the
denoted
home.
here.
Yes, ma'am.
With a V and an R.
Yes, ma'am.
And then can you continue? Page
So
14.
from 2:13 a.m.
every
to
step of the way.
2:18 a.m., the phone leaves kind of the area south of the Dallas Zoo, travels along Clarendon Drive, and it moves by 2:18 is just south of the victim's residence.
Okay. And what are we looking at on page 15?
These are, I've got several Google hits in the 2:19 time frame, so this is just 1 minute, but it basically shows the device doing a drive-by of the house, and at 2:48 a.m. it's just north of the residence, but it's at this time it's in the neighborhood of the victim's residence.
Okay.
So they've tracked him all the way from his
On
house.
page 16, now we're now into October 9th, 3:40 p.m. to 5:09 p.m.
Yes. So what happened was there was no Google data between 2:19 a.m. and 3:40 p.m.
He was smart. He turned off his phone.
I can't say why there was no Google data, but there was no data. But at this point, it shows the device starting at 3:40 is near Jackson, and then is traveling west, and at 5:09 is at the Pilot Travel Center that it had stopped at earlier on the way to Dallas.
Okay, and as far as no Google data, is it possible there be no Google data because the phone was completely shut down?
That would be the most logical, or the end user could have deleted that data. But one possibility is the device was turned off. And at this time, I also have a outgoing call at 4:32. Excuse me, 4:32. I'm sorry, 4:32 p.m. And that shows that it's kind of pointing to the area where we have Google data 3 minutes prior. So that's consistent with the Google data and the cell data, putting it in the same general area.
Okay, and this is 4:32 p.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and it's an outgoing call?
Yes, ma'am.
Outgoing call to 615-630-3046.
No, that's the target number, the 3046. I didn't put who that call was to because it was a number that wasn't provided to me as being important to the case. So I didn't specify who that call was to.
And then 17, what are we looking at here, page 17?
This is 5:10 p.m. to 5:28 p.m. There's Google data that puts the device near the Pilot truck stop, and then there's also a 5:11 p.m. There's an outgoing text at 5:18 p.m. from the phone associated with Mr. Lopez to the phone associated with Ms. Faith, and there's also an incoming call from another number at 5:11 p.m. With the phone utilizing a towered sector that has a coverage area that includes the Pilot truck stop.
And then getting to the end, page 18.
The phone just between 5:36 and 6:02 p.m. starts traveling north from that Pilot truck stop towards the residence.
Okay, we can see the residence denoted here.
Yes, ma'am, in the yellow tab.
And you also note that there were texts going on to phones associated between Darrin Lopez and Jennifer Faith. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Between 5:41 and 5:43, there's a text from the phone associated with Ms. Faith to Mr. Lopez. 5:43, that phone texts back to Ms. Faith's phone. 5:43, the phone associated with Ms. Faith texts the phone associated with Mr. Lopez. And then 5:43, the phone associated with Mr. Lopez texts the phone associated with Ms. Faith back.
And then on 19, you have the phone back at or very, very near the residence of Darrin Lopez.
Yes, the Google data from 6:05 until 9:59 p.m. At 6:05, it basically makes a left-hand turn and starts traveling towards the residence, and then is in the area of the residence from 6:14 to 9:59 p.m. And then there was a call at 9:43 p.m. from Ms. Faith to Mr. Lopez. That lasts 1,528 seconds. And during that time, that device is using a tower that has a coverage area that includes his residence.
Okay. Did you say 5,000 or 1,000?
1,528.
Okay. And then 16 texts. Did you?
Yes, ma'am. And I was about to say, and then there also in that time frame, there were 16 text messages between the two devices.
While they're on the phone.
Between 6:21 and 9:16 p.m.
Can you explain your toll analysis?
I just took the records associated with Mr. Lopez.
Okay, I've added her address.
June 24th
up a
and January 11th of 2021, just looked at the call volume and text volume between the two devices. And so what I showed is in that time frame, there were 2,344 total calls. 261 of them were with the phone associated with Ms. Lopez, so a little over 11% of his call volume was with Ms. Lopez. There were 268,844 total SMS or just text messages, with 116,171 with the phone associated with Ms. Lopez, just over 43% of the text messages. There were 10,808 MMS, which is a multimedia session, which is either a very long text or he's attached a picture or a short video or something like that. And that was 39, just over 39%. And then I also looked when there was a gap of greater than 10 hours where the two phones did not communicate at all. And the only time that occurred was from October 8th at 1:07 p.m. till October 9th at 5:18 p.m. was the only time where there was more than 10 hours between when these two devices communicated with each other.
Okay, I think this is important just to reiterate. So you're saying between June 24th of 2020 and January 11th of 2021?
Yes,
in
ma'am.
that time frame, the only time that they had no contact for greater than 10 hours is the time of October 8th from 1:07 to October 9th at 5:18.
Yes, ma'am, and that's roughly 28 hours.
I think some of us have never communicated that much with our significant other.
Yes, ma'am.
Ever. Like they did more in those few months than many of us have done in years.
And you created this report. The final report came out 9/22 of 2021. Is that correct? Although you did your analysis, I think, sometime in January of 2021.
Yes, ma'am. What the process is, I'll do an initial analysis, and then when requested by the case agents or it's coming up for some kind of court proceeding, we have a peer review process. So another cast agent will take my work and redo it in a different mapping software. So if there's any errors, it's caught, and basically it's generally a typo check for the most part before I finalize my product.
She's probably watching from the Airbnb.
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Okay, at this time, Your Honor, I'll pass the witness. Thank you, Mr. Sedwick.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Agent Sedwick, and I just wanted to clarify, each time that you were using the cell data information, you actually posted the tower on those maps?
Yes, sir.
So the majority of what you had was Google data from a device being on?
Yes, sir. In this case, the majority of this was Google data. Okay. Yes, sir.
And I know that you had some nice, pretty circles on your maps and that kind of thing. That's not what the
pretty
cell phone
circles
coverage actually looks like, is it?
No, sir. The circles is the Google. They give me a lat long and a level of uncertainty. So they give me a circle. So that's what I plotted. I use the sector arms with that shaded area to show the coverage of every cell tower. But no, it's not going to be that perfect
that perfect circle, or because you've got different radio frequencies and different coverage areas depending on, I mean, even weather and time and that kind of thing that can change. Is that fair?
Weather and time has a very limited effect, but topography, the network, the other towers in the area affect what that coverage area looks like. But that's been determined to be the best showing of what the general coverage area of that device was, or that cell tower was in sector at the time of that call.
Why do we get the feel that this witness was recently choked by his own tie?
Affect like which towers are picking up calls. Calls can get shunted at times. Is that fair?
No, sir. Once you're in a call, yes. But when the phone either you press send or you receive a call, the phone itself is in charge at that time. The phone is always looking for the strongest signal with the least amount of interference, generally the closest tower. So when you press send on your phone that connects to the tower, it sees the best at that time. That is what was reflected in the call detail records. Same process for an incoming call. The network doesn't keep track of where every single phone is at every time. It knows the general area. So if I get an incoming call, it'll send a page out to all the towers in the area. I'll respond on the tower and sector. The device sees the best at that time. That's what's reflected in the call detail records. But once you're in a call, the network, you might not move, but the network might shift you to another tower that still has coverage because there's an overlap in the network, so there's not dropped calls. You might not move, and the network might shift you, but the tower listed in the call detail records as the first tower is the tower and sector the device itself chose.
So kind of the same thing we said, the closest tower isn't always the one that can be up to the device, up to traffic.
Traffic doesn't have an effect. The phone has no idea what traffic is on that tower. Okay. But like if I'm sitting here and there's a tower half a mile this way and 3/4 mile that way, but there's a hill in the way, I might choose the farther tower because it's a stronger signal.
When you say the phone or
the device, yes, sir.
So,
I'm saying
so we can have some deviation there based on a lot of those factors.
Yes, sir, but it's always going to be in this tower and sector that was the strongest signal.
I want to skip over to...
Is that like a pet peeve when defense uses prosecution evidence and like, hey, let me show you this? Because she looks a little bit, the prosecutor looks a little bit peeved when he's like, hand me that. I want to look at that. She's like, fine, here you go.
And I'm going to go to page 11 of your report.
11? Yes, sir.
So we have been following the device now from Mr. Lopez's residence along, which interstate is that? 40. Okay. That's Interstate 40.
I was on 40.
And been following him along at this point.
Just yesterday, or last week.
Through Mr. Lopez's device, through his phone number. As you stated, you're tracking devices, not people.
Yes, sir. At this point, it's the Google data on the device.
Okay. And all of this is Google data. We're not seeing, again, that cell phone tower. So the majority of what you have here is the Google data.
Yes, sir. The vast majority of this case, it was Google data.
All right. And so off of page 11 there, you've got within a 3 meters at about 7 p.m. that device is in West Memphis, Arkansas. Is that right?
At 5:39 p.m., it's in West Memphis.
Okay.
And then at 6:53, it's outside of Little Rock.
Oh, outside of Little Rock. Okay, thank you. So at 6:53, we're outside of Little Rock. And at that point, that is where you lose that information for a good period of time. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the next place that we pick up that device is a good bit south of Dallas. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In fact, we have the Faith's residence here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the device is now a good bit south of Dallas. Now, we don't have this map here, but we have now come all the way down through Dallas on 40. Would have had to catch probably I-30, come down through Dallas to then end up south of the city, right?
Yeah, obviously, I can't say what route. I mean, that's the most logical route, okay. But I can't say, obviously.
We have no idea what route.
Yes, sir.
Right. We could have gone down through Louisiana and come back up. We could have gone over through Oklahoma City and dropped all the way down. We could have hit New Mexico and made a circle if we had enough time.
Yes, sir.
We don't know what it is, but we know that the device is dark from Little Rock until now. We are not anywhere near the victim's residence. In fact, probably past it from where we're trying to get to.
It's south of the victim's residence, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, but at that point, we're now at about 2 in the morning. It turns on.
There's Google data again.
There is Google data again. Okay, so for about 7 hours, there is no Google data, and I created a little Google data. Would it surprise you that that's about 450 miles?
I'd have to map that out, sir. I don't remember off the top of my head.
All right. Approach the witness. Sure. Through my own Google data to establish my alibi for the day of where I've been. I just used Google Maps to show the Faith's address.
It's okay. Her letters are long. It's all right.
Memphis.
Yes, sir.
And how far is that?
That's saying, where's the mileage? 449, 450 miles.
About 450 miles and about.
Where's that? I'm sorry. Where's that from the starting point? I just want to make because I.
Yeah, not a problem. So, and I mapped it backwards. So from Waverly to.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I just wanted to. I missaw where it was, so I wanted to make sure I was talking. We're talking the same.
We agree. We got 7 hours of no data.
Yes, sir.
And we've got 450 miles of no data.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm going to read the letter when we're done.
We start getting data.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then we continue to have data as it takes us back up towards the victim's residence.
That's a good
back
idea.
up towards the victim's residence.
Yes, sir.
And a count of how many countries.
Right at the victim's residence.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then what is our latest time on your report where we are right next to the victim's residence?
2:19 a.m., sir.
So 2:19 a.m. And then we go to ARC again.
Yes, sir.
Correct? So from 2:19 until almost 13 and a half hours later, no data. Is that right?
Yes, sir, approximately.
Okay. And we are back in Oakfield, Jackson area, and I'm trying to think of where that is. I'm just trying to find another point of reference. But at least the 450 miles, if not a little bit more, that we talked about there.
Yes, sir. It's dark for 13 hours and travels a decent distance, obviously a good distance in that time.
Okay.
I'm going to share the letter one more time, just because some people missed it. Just know that don't delete what's there. You can add to it, and we'll remove things as needed. But this is a letter we're drafting collectively for service.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Mitchell?
I'm able to talk. It's just going to get funnier.
Next witness, please.
So here's the letter. This is a link to the Google Doc.
Come on.
I'm gonna read it afterwards.
State calls Agent Stacy.
Before you have a seat on the witness stand, please turn and face me and raise your right. I swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth. Please have a seat. If you're responding to questions from Ms. Mitchell first, Mr. Duke or Mr. Sanchez to the left, you may proceed whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you, Agent Stacy Vander Westhaven. Yes. I just didn't want to get it wrong. Can you please introduce yourself to the jury, and by all means, please spell your first and last name for the court reporter.
My name is Stacy Vander Westhaven, S-T-A-C-E-Y-V-A-N.
Scoot up to the mic.
W-E-S-T-H-U-I-Z-E-N. I'm an ATF special agent.
All right, and how long have you been with the ATF?
Approximately 9.5 years now.
And where did you start out?
My first office was Montgomery, Alabama, and then I moved to Nashville, Tennessee.
All right, and you were in Nashville, Tennessee, for part of the team that Barnes put together, or all of you guys with ATF and Eric Barnes and Chris Walton put together for the arrest of Darrin Lopez. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, and your involvement in this case was January 11th of 2020?
Yes.
Okay. Well, a few days before that, is that correct?
Leading up to the arrest.
That's the
yes.
arrest.
You're no longer in Nashville, though, is that right?
That's correct. I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina now.
Wilmington, just down the road from me.
Yes, they do.
Enjoy the beach.
At the time of this, what was your role at ATF?
At the
Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, correct?
Yes, I was a field agent at the time, still am.
All right, and what does that mean? When you tell the jury, what does that mean? What do you do?
We investigate violent crimes involving drug trafficking, firearms trafficking, anything of that nature.
And did you have anything else that you were assigned to?
I was a part-time member to the ATF SRT, our special response team.
All right, And what makes that different than just being a field agent?
At the time, I was a crisis negotiator to the team on Team 3 out of Dallas, Texas. I was a part-time member, and all we do, we're a tactical team. We respond to high-risk events or just events or incidents, properties that are difficult to get to that a regular field agent might not be able to get to through their office.
Okay. And at this point, leading up to the arrest, you guys are talking to Eric Barnes and Chris Walton, but mostly Eric Barnes, is that right? Detective Eric Barnes?
That's correct.
Okay. And at this point, and the jury has heard from other testimony, there was an arrest that was to be made on Darrin Lopez. Was that your understanding?
Yes.
And it was your understanding that a search warrant had been executed, or a search warrant had been asked for and signed off on to be executed on the residence of Darrin Lopez after his arrest. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Leading up to this arrest, what were you doing?
I was asked to help with surveillance the days leading up to the arrest and for the search warrant for SRT to travel into.
And what were you doing for the surveillance up to the arrest?
We would go out early in the morning, try to see what time the children were leaving. We didn't want to execute the warrant while the children were in the home.
Okay. And by children, I think they were teenagers, but still, they're underage.
Correct.
Okay. And was it your understanding there was 3 girls?
Yes.
Okay. You were also given information where the house is located, I guess.
Correct.
Okay. And also any vehicles.
That's right.
All right. And what vehicle, do you recall what vehicle you were kind of looking for?
The Nissan pickup truck and
Okay.
a silver Scion.
All right. And again, you're trying to see when the children, the girls, are going to be out of the house.
Yes.
All right. So, and what do you do to try to figure that out?
It's a mobile surveillance we would set up outside of the house and different entry points, which way the kids could leave, or he could take the kids to school. We didn't know what school the kids attended. We were figuring that out at the time, just to see what time was the best time for us to enter the property.
And it was kind of tricky at the time, right, Agent? Because this was during COVID, and so the schools were all doing different things, right?
That's correct.
And so you guys had to figure out what school was having students in and students not, right?
Yes, what days the kids would attend, different kids, depending on their last name, would attend different days. It was different all in 2020, 2021.
Okay. Do you happen to, right before January 11th, come across this black Nissan Titan?
Yes, we did. We located at a high school in the back, parked in the student parking lot.
And this was literally just you driving around looking for this truck at different schools?
Me and another agent, we were driving around. We couldn't locate the truck, and so we surveillance.
Okay. So you find the truck at a high school, indicating what to you?
We believed at the time that maybe one of the daughters was driving the truck herself to school.
Okay, because it's in the high school senior parking lot.
Correct.
Okay. And what do you do next?
I just related back to our surveillance team, to our advanced SRT team. For them, when they would travel in, they would do their own surveillance on top of this pre-surveillance we did to better understand how to execute the warrant safely.
Okay. And so suffice it to say, there's nothing you can do really at this point. You've got the truck and you spot the truck, but you can't really do anything except, I guess, relay the information back or see if this young girl comes out.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so what do you end up doing?
We just waited for the SRT team to come in to set up the briefing and for the ATF Dallas office to travel in to meet with our Nashville Group 1 office.
Okay, and when they did come in for the briefing, what was decided, or did something happen before the briefing?
We briefed the morning before, January 11th, the day Mr. Lopez was arrested. We briefed our offices because Dallas ATF traveled in and they met with our Nashville Group 1 office. Our ATF advanced team traveled in to do their pre-op surveillance that morning and that day. And while they were doing their surveillance, they came upon Mr. Lopez and effectively affected the arrest.
And how did they come upon Mr. Lopez?
I think they were just mobile surveillance of the area.
Okay, and he was in what?
The Scion.
So he was not inside the house. They didn't go inside the house.
No.
They were watching, and he came out of the house. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then what do they do when they see that he is in the Scion coming out of his home?
I believe they just took him into custody, but had local law enforcement involved.
Okay. And as far as you know, there was no there was no resistance by Mr. Lopez.
As far as I know, yeah, I wasn't at the actual arrest, but I think it was effective, safe.
Okay. And I think you said you were, where the briefing was done and where you were was about an hour away from his home. Would that be about right?
Approximately, yeah.
Okay. Do you get word that the arrest has been made? And search warrant in hand, y'all need to get to that house to do the search warrant of the house?
That's correct.
Okay. And so do you take off immediately?
Yes.
Okay. You and who else go to the house? For
Suggestion for the letter.
All the agents that briefed that morning for our pre-operational briefing, we all made our way to the property.
A list of questions we want to ask Sarah on the interview.
Was there, who the jury hasn't previously heard of, but one of the detectives was there named Jabari Howard. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And he was at the house with you, not inside the house, but he was at the house with you. And he's a DPD detective, Dallas Police Department detective.
Those agents arrived. I arrived a little bit earlier to meet with SRT. We still had to clear the house. So the rest of SRT, we linked up, we cleared the house, made sure it was safe and secure. Nobody was at the house. We checked the outbuildings, and then we allowed the rest of the agents, as well as DPD, to come onto the property.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to go through these just to make sure you recognize them.
Okay.
Lots of pictures.
Yeah.
If there's something you don't like in the letter, let's leave it in. We'll edit it out afterwards. So just add what you feel is appropriate, and we might have to trim it down to make it a little more concise. But it's coming. It's taking shape nicely. You guys are doing a great job. Squeaky noise when she turns the pictures is great. And she shows the jury every picture she flips it over. Ivy, I saw that question.
I do.
Okay. And those pictures of the house, Darrin Lopez's residence in Cumberland Furnace, Tennessee, and the inside of the house.
Yes, they are.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I wanted you to look at States Exhibit 139 through 162. And at this time, I'm going to ask to offer the evidence for all purposes, States 139 through.
Okay, we're going to show a bunch of pictures of the house here as that's going on. I'm going to be watching the pictures a little bit. These are not going to be as pertinent. I really don't think that there's a ton of stuff they got from the house, and most of the evidence they need is digital already on this for him. They're gonna find the gun. They're gonna find the mask that he was wearing. Other than that, objects around the house are probably not as pertinent. But I mean, the truck, the gun, the mask, and his cell phones. That's how it's gonna go. Okay. Let's see. Appendix C is taking shape nicely. Put these questions up in the body of the letter. Okay, that's a great suggestion.
No objection. There is it. You may publish.
We'll go over this letter for those who aren't able to see it. This is his house they're going to be showing pictures of. We'll go over this letter to Sarah Boone here at the end of day once court's over. We'll try to read this together because it's a living, breathing document. So yeah, it's got 40 people editing it right now.
139, this is the house that you came upon in Cumberland Furnace, Tennessee. This is the residence of Darrin Lopez.
That's correct.
You have the search warrant for.
Yes.
Okay.
That's Darren's house. It's hard to hear her. She stands at the Elmo.
This is State's Exhibit 140.
It's got the obligatory spare tire.
Correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Looks like that used to be a garage door that sort of was filled in.
This would be 141, the back of the home.
Correct.
Okay. So it did sit on a large piece of property.
Yes.
I think he's on 20 acres.
Several other what you call outbuildings around, correct?
That's correct. A barn and then a shed, I believe.
Were there any animals not inside the house, but any animals around the house?
There was a couple of horses.
There were a couple horses?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 142. Would you say that the house was pretty messy?
Yes.
Okay, so was this like a floor area?
She's like, yes.
And those are your knees right there bending down?
Yes.
Okay. Did you guys have to go through a lot in order to find anything of value?
We had to dig through quite a lot, yes.
Okay.
Dig through to find the floor.
Clothes, just food wrappers. Were there animals inside the house?
I think a cat maybe. I don't recall too many animals.
Okay. But what we're focused on in this picture in States 142 looks like a rucksack, possibly.
That's correct.
Okay. And then 143, again, this is just an area. Here it looks like another rucksack or the same one. But there's just stuff everywhere. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and this one states 144.
The lawyer's
you find
like,
some bullets on another kind of
you could at least have tidied
bag
up a bit.
Correct.
in some part of the house. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this is just another photo of it?
Believe
Or
so.
another bag?
Yes.
And 145. Okay. Now, going
Bingo.
back to State's Exhibit 142, with this rucksack, we can also see that there's like a Belvita box or something here, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and in State's Exhibit 146, it's that same box, same rucksack, but you pulled out a handgun. Is that
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Do you remember, was it just on the floor? Was it under the bed?
It was inside the backpack. I believe it was wrapped in that T-shirt.
No, the whole rucksack, I'm sorry.
It was near the bed area.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's you kneeling down. Those are your knees, is that
Yes,
correct?
that's me.
All right. And then the clip that goes with the handgun, correct?
Correct.
All right, and this is just another view
That's right.
of the handgun
Yes.
and the magazine on States 147. And then here you take a closer view and what appears to be on the gun.
Blood at the time.
Okay, and can you tell the jury what kind of gun it is?
It's a Smith & Wesson.
Okay, and can you read the serial number? Can you read those letters?
Victor Alpha Sierra 0598, I believe.
And that's State's Exhibit 148. You also take a photo of the butt of the gun. Somebody does. Do you have any idea why? Just
No.
taking every angle?
Yeah, our photographer or whoever's in charge of the camera will usually just take all angles of a firearm.
Okay, and the State's 149. Just another view of this clip.
There's a
in
Hershey's.
State's 150.
Correct.
In that same rucksack. And then we have, you guys found some letters.
Yes.
And some packages. Okay, and can you tell, if I can zoom in, but can you tell, it's to Darrin Lopez, happy birthday, I love you. Can you tell who the return address is from?
Jennifer Faith.
Okay.
It has just Jennifer.
then-
The other name is crossed out. Bev, welcome
tell
to
who
the jury.
package is
Thank you so much.
From?
Please take your reserved
Jennifer
padded
Faith.
seat.
In Dallas, Texas, correct?
That's correct.
All right, then we have 152. Again, the house had lots of stuff in it, right? Lots of clothing and food, but you do find what looks like a gun
case.
box.
A gun box, yeah.
Okay. And possibly the gun box for the Smith & Wesson in States 153.
Possibly, it might be for another separate firearm.
154, we're just showing that what you're collecting,
More
different
ammo.
ammunition, setting
Yes.
out and taking a photo of it. Same thing in 155.
Yes.
And then in
Speaking
156,
of
you go ahead and take a picture of the certification title, Darrin Lopez, and this is for what?
The Nissan Titan.
I'm sorry?
The Nissan Titan.
The Nissan
The
Titan.
pickup truck.
Okay, that was registered to him, that the police found
That's
in their
correct.
initial investigation.
Correct.
157, is this a picture of the Scion?
The Scion, yes.
And then 159, 159, we have a priority mail. I think that's from the State's Exhibit we saw earlier, but from Jennifer Faith to Darrin Lopez, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And then in 160, we see a giant FedEx box, looks like on the front or back porch of the house.
That's correct.
All right, and 161, if we get closer, we see, do you see a return address?
Jennifer Faith.
Yes.
Jennifer Faith, Dallas, Texas.
Yes.
She bought it
And
on a
then if we
bicycle.
go to 162, this is the living room where Christmas is still happening.
Maybe a TV. Oh, it was a TV.
And we see probably what came out of that FedEx box, right?
TV.
The giant Samsung TV.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
QLED.
Right.
Nothing but the best.
When you collect the gun, and then what do you do with it?
I walked it outside to Jabari.
And you gave it to Jabari Howard?
I handed it over, yes.
Who, again, is with the Dallas Police Department. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Give us just 1 second, Your Honor. We're trying to get into Fort Knox here.
They're airing all this dirty laundry. Hey, we're finally going to see the
All right.
piece.
I'm going to show you what's been marked previously, and for record purposes, it states 164. Okay. Do we have any gloves?
I'm sorry, Amber.
Gloves, Hitman?
Hopefully the bank fixes that. Yeah, we'll do this, KR. We'll edit it down. We'll save the first copy.
Okay, this is unloaded and locked up. But does this appear to be the same gun that was in the photos?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is it marked as Smith & Wesson?
Smith & Wesson.
Okay. And can you, from this angle, read the serial number?
Victor Alpha 00598.
Okay. And the magazine that you collected as well, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. At this time, Your Honor, I would like to offer the evidence states 164 for all purposes.
Again, we have no objection.
All right. For the jury.
Jury gets a little show and tell. The jury may be able to have that back with them in deliberation. Hopefully not ammunition as well. Generally, you don't want both in the same place.
Okay, and Miss Agent, I'm so sorry, Vander Westhazen.
Heavy, this group is smart.
After you deliver property to detectives for DPD to take back to Dallas, what did you do next?
We just kept searching the house
All right.
for more evidence.
All right. Did you take a lot of stuff out of the house, or?
There was many of us helping go through the house and search the house. I believe we took quite a bit of evidence out.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was very messy, correct?
Yes, it took a while.
Okay. So you kind of had to sort through some stuff.
Yes.
All right. After the search of the house, did you have anything else to do with this particular case?
No, we were ATF Nashville 1 was pretty much finished with our side of the case.
Okay. But and you personally had nothing else to do with the case?
That's correct.
Professionally?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
They're so quick.
Special Agent, this was about 3 months after the shooting, right?
That's correct.
So for 90 days, that gun sat in that house in a sack, correct?
I assume so, yes, sir.
All right. So it wasn't under a bed, correct?
I don't believe it could have. I could have pulled it under a bed. The house was so dirty with all the clothes. I don't recall if it was somewhat under the bed, but it was near the bed.
Find it.
It wasn't in a closet somewhere in the back of
No,
the
sir.
closet. It wasn't in a wall, and it wasn't under the house.
That's
It
correct.
was that you were able to find it after you got rid of some of the stuff that was on top. You were able to find it really easy, right?
Somewhat.
So if someone was trying to hide a weapon like that, they weren't doing a good job, is what I'm trying to get.
That's correct.
All right. And so the gun was there. Did you see any signs that anybody tried to destroy any evidence in this case?
Not that I could tell.
Were you able to retrieve computers from his house?
I believe we did take electronics.
Okay.
I personally, I don't think I was responsible for electronics. I think I just had that section of the house.
And do you remember, if you do, whether any of those electronics were hidden in any way?
I don't remember.
And so you come across him, and you tell people that you see him, right, when you're going to arrest him?
I didn't arrest him.
Okay. But when somebody arrests him, are you the first person that saw him, lay eyes on him?
No, I wasn't there when the advance team arrested him.
But from what you recall, it was done without incident, right?
That's correct.
He didn't resist, correct?
Correct.
He didn't run.
That's correct.
There was no chase.
Right.
He basically gave himself up.
That's correct.
And was the gun loaded or not loaded?
It was loaded.
Do you know how many bullets were in it?
I don't recall.
There were other bullets that you brought with you today also? Or only the bullets that you found in the gun?
I think it's only the bullets.
Mm-hmm. In the pictures, was there another clip in there?
I think it's just one clip, one magazine.
And the extra bullets that you found, where were they?
They were spread out throughout the room.
Okay, so some were in a bag, in that same bag?
There were bullets in gun boxes, just loosely laid. It was everywhere.
Did you find any other guns?
No, I don't believe we did.
That's the only gun you found?
That's correct.
He had a speed loader for a revolver, but they didn't find that. Maybe it's still buried under stuff.
Do you know who was in charge of taking the electronics?
I guess the Jabari DPD.
I passed the witness.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
It should be fine. Excuse.
No objection.
Very good. You're excused from any further service. Call your next witness, please.
State House Laura Fleming.
The state's going to arrest here if they don't stop just zipping through these witnesses. They're going to be done. We haven't got any experts yet. I'm not sure if they're going to, expert analysis. Just to the cell phone experts is all. No ME yet.
Afternoon. Would please come to the front of the courtroom before you have a seat. Would you face me and raise your right hand? You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth.
Yes.
Please have a seat.
Thank you.
Respond to any questions from Ms. Mitchell first, and then to Mr. Duke and Mr. Sanchez to your left.
All right.
You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Don't think the judge likes his chair. He stands up a lot.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury and state and spell your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Laura Fleming, Fleming. I am a firearms examiner with the Dallas Police Department.
Great. And how long have you been a firearms examiner with the Dallas Police Department?
I've been a firearms examiner 28 years, and I've been with the Dallas Police Department about 7.
Okay. And can you tell the jury what you do as a firearm in your role at DPD as a firearm analyst?
A firearms examiner is a forensic scientist that focuses on the field known as firearms identification. And firearms identification is one of the many disciplines under the forensic science discipline. But its focus is to determine whether a fired bullet, a fired cartridge case, or any other ammunition component was fired from a specific firearm.
All right. And I guess let me back up. Also, as your role in DPD and dealing with these fired cartridge casings or your analysis as an examiner, do you also enter, or someone on your team is responsible for entering in fired cartridge casings into the NIBIN system?
Yes, the Dallas Police Department participates in the NIBIN program. NIBIN is an acronym for the National Integrated Ballistics Information Network. And this system is supported by the ATF, and this system allows us to capture images of cartridge cases, both from the crime scene as well as from known firearms, known as test-fired cartridge cases. in an effort to associate unrelated cases to each other to aid the investigation.
Alex Murdaugh, they had
And
windows that were blacked out.
Did you have, did DPD crime scene response give you guys some fired cartridge casings on an incident that happened October 9th of 2020 under, it looks like case number 179-853-2020?
Yes.
Okay, and do you recall how many?
There were 8 fired cartridge cases.
Okay. Is what you did with NIBIN part of your report or no?
Yes, I mean, as far as entry into the NIBIN database, if a confirmation is performed, it will be part of my report. Now, on a routine basis, as far as routine entry of cartridge cases, we do not issue reports unless a confirmation has been requested.
Okay, and so we're clear, and I think this is, and we went over it a little bit with physical evidence section, Detective Gonzalez. In all cases involving a firearm, if there are fired cartridge cases collected, then they are to be entered into the NIBIN system.
They are to be considered for entry into the NIBIN system, and I say that because there is a process. Specifically, like in this case, we had 8 fired cartridge cases that were collected from one crime scene. These 8 fired cartridge cases are screened. They were screened by one of our NIBIN analysts to determine class characteristics. If he finds that they were all the same class characteristics, then a representative cartridge case is entered into the database, into the NIBIN database.
So basically, that means he's looking at all 8, and then if they screen in, then he or she picks one.
Correct.
To enter in, and then there's a process to enter it into the NIBIN system.
Yes.
Okay. I am going to show you, Laura, what's in marked. Is it okay if I call you Laura?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's in marked as States Exhibit 165 and 166. We have 2 reports here that are the same report, but let's go ahead and explain that.
Okay.
Same report with you, okay?
Yes, they are copies of my reports.
Okay. So we have one, and can you give me the one, that one? In States Exhibit 165, it says firearm analysis report, which was completed on what date?
Well, the report was issued on May 27th of 2021.
Okay. And then we have States Exhibit 166, and that is titled Corrected Report.
It is, and that one was issued February 24th of 2023.
Okay, and before we go into the reports, I have to enter these into evidence, but just briefly, what did you have to correct on the report? Anything of substance, first of all?
Well, the corrective report was issued to clarify the serial number of the firearm, the only firearm that I examined.
Okay, so in the original report, you have the, and I'll let you look at yours. On the original report, what do you have the serial number as?
In the original report, I listed the serial number for a Smith & Wesson pistol as VASD 598.
And you figure out that you just read it wrong, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And it should be?
The correct serial number for the same Smith & Wesson pistol is VAS 0598.
Okay. And you and I have even looked at that gun and verified that that's a 0, not a D.
Correct, and I have photographs, copies of photographs as well with me today.
All right. At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to offer into evidence States Exhibit 165 for record purposes, States Exhibit 166 for all purposes.
We have no objection, Your Honor.
Submitted. You may publish.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Ms. Fleming.
165 for record purposes.
Yeah, let me put that up here. All right, Laura, I know you and I have been over this over and over again, and you are so much better at firearms than I am. So I'm kind of looking to push play and let you talk as much as I can. But on this report that has been entered into evidence, can you tell us what this first report is? An analysis. Can you just kind of walk us through your report, I guess is what I'm asking. Do we want to start with page 1 of 2?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
I mean, initially, item number 7, as listed on the report as one federal brand 45 auto caliber fired cartridge case, was submitted to the NIBIN unit.
Okay.
It was screened by there were 8 cartridge cases. It was screened by one of our NIBIN analysts, and item 7 was entered into the NIBIN database.
Okay.
Then eventually a firearm that's listed on my report as F1, which is a Smith & Wesson 45 auto caliber pistol, was submitted to the NIBIN unit, the Dallas PD NIBIN unit, for NIBIN entry. It was test fired and entered into the system, and a lead was found to the item 7 cartridge case.
Okay, let's back this up just a little bit.
Okay.
So you put the number 7 fired cartridge casing into the NIBIN system.
One of our NIBIN analysts did, but
Analysts
yes,
did.
our
And they
department.
do this by how? How do they put it into a system?
The NIBIN unit is actually divided into 2 stations, and one is an acquisition station, meaning that it captures pictures or images of the head of a cartridge case. This area of the cartridge case covers breech face marks and firing pin impression, which are all representative of the gun that it was fired from. Once our NIBIN analyst determined that all 8 of these had similar class characteristics, one was selected as a representative of the group. So that was item number 7. That was entered into the NIBIN database as images. These images are retained in the database, and they are correlated against other incidences, not only in Dallas PD, but in our region. We are linked to all NIBIN users in the state of Texas, as well as some departments in Louisiana and as well as Oklahoma. So It does a search of those areas.
Would that be an example on page 11 of 17?
We're going to need the editors to wrap up their editing.
Can you show me what
so we can turn the editing off before we read it.
Yeah, may I push the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Sorry, just 11, 17 down here.
Yes, this particular page demonstrates the information regarding the firearm that was entered into the NIBIN database, specifically the Smith & Wesson pistol.
Okay, and cartridge case exhibit details.
Yes, but this is in reference to the test fire, not item 7, the cartridge case from the scene.
Is there a photo that we can show the jury in your report regarding the images that you put into the NIBIN system?
It would be in my original packet, which is page 15 of 22.
This is the original report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And let me just compare to make sure.
Yes, it's
Listen one time.
15 of 22.
Okay, can you find that in here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put this up on the screen, okay?
Okay. Like I said, this page represents the information, case information, specifically to item number 7, which was a cartridge case that was collected by DPD crime scene.
Okay. And these are the images that get sent and put into the NIBIN system.
Right. These images are acquired, and a correlation is performed within the database. Dallas PD is contracted with ATF to review all correlation results. They have a correlation center that reviews all the results.
Okay. So then sometime later, you get information from who? Or the NIBIN people in your NIBIN get information from who regarding this cartridge case number 7?
Well, when item number 7 was initially entered, there were no leads found at that particular point. I mean, keep in mind, this was entered back on October 12th of 2020. So there were no leads found at that particular point. It wasn't until later when a firearm developed within the investigation. The Smith & Wesson .45 caliber pistol was then submitted to the NIBIN unit, test fired, and entered into the NIBIN database. That particular firearm, a lead was found to item number 7 cartridge case.
Okay, and pause there. I think I made a mistake and put something into evidence that I had asked for record purposes. At this time, the state would ask that the report be admitted.
What number is it?
165 for all purposes.
Did she say she made a mistake? I put something into evidence that was only supposed to be for record?
No objection. All right. And so to make the record clear, you showed a picture from 165. What picture did you show from that exhibit that's now admitted for all purposes?
It's page 15 of 22. Okay. Exhibit information, IBIS tracks, HD 3D match point of the number 7 cartridge case.
All right. Go ahead.
All right, and apologies to the court. Okay, Mrs. Fleming, you, there was a lead, and at that point, what do you do?
At that point, when the NIBIN unit receives a lead notification from ATF, I will review those images, as well as my colleague Charles Clow will review these images to determine whether or not we are in agreement with the findings or information that we have gathered from ATF as far as the lead is concerned. If we are in agreement, then we will distribute this information of the potential lead to our investigators or detectives assigned to the cases involved. If our detectives wish to...
Well, let's break that up. I'm sorry. If you will let the detectives know if...
a lead is found.
Okay. And in this case, you did?
Correct.
Okay. And you talked to the lead detective, Ms. Walton. Is that correct?
I'd have to refer to my email, but I emailed many individuals because I know there were other detectives involved in this particular incident. Okay. Detective Barnes, Detective Howard, as well as Walton.
Okay. And the gun that you received from Detective Howard?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. But I went a little ahead. So you talked to them about going ahead and doing a confirmatory report.
Right. I sent them an email notification essentially saying this gun may be connected to this specific cartridge case number 7 through a NIBIN lead. If confirmation is required, please submit a request for analysis to perform that type of an examination.
Okay, that's important to kind of make sure it's very clear. The number 7 cartridge case on the scene at 926 Waverly Place in Dallas was put into the NIBIN system via images.
Correct.
Then there was a lead, and there was a lead generated.
No, not at that point. Number 7 is entered into the NIBIN database when the incident occurred in 2020.
Yes.
Then a few months down the road, a firearm was found and submitted to the NIBIN unit. Yes, the firearm was test fired and entered into NIBIN. Okay. Then a lead was found.
Gotcha. So the firearm that you received from Jabari Howard, that was test fired and put into the system.
Yes.
And at that time, there was a lead that was found that said there may be a connection between this particular gun found in Tennessee and the scene at 926 Waverly Place.
Yes.
Okay. And then you asked them to do a confirmatory report.
I asked if they needed, right, I notified them of the lead, and if they needed confirmation, then they were to submit a request for analysis form, which was done.
Okay. And then what is your analysis at that point?
At that point, I took the firearm as well as the fired cartridge cases that I fired from that particular gun and did a microscopic comparison to the item number 7 cartridge case that was found at the scene. A microscopic comparison is the only way to confirm a NIBIN lead. It has to be done with the physical evidence through a comparison process. This type of examination utilizes a comparison microscope, and essentially this microscope is 2 compound microscopes, and they're placed side by side and they're joined by an optical bridge. And this allows me to view 2 items under the same degree of magnification for comparison purposes. And when I'm doing this type of examination, I'm focusing on many features within the cartridge cases. I mentioned a little bit earlier of class characteristics. Class characteristics are measurable features of an item. They're predetermined prior to the manufacturing of the particular firearm, which is in this case a tool. In reference to firearms identification, some examples of class characteristics are things like caliber. They're not unique features, but they allow you to group these features into smaller ranges. For example, a 9mm caliber would be different than a .45 auto caliber. Those are class characteristics. Now, moving deeper, you get into individual characteristics. Now, these are your unique features.
These are here,
yes.
Laura. You take these characteristics and you do the microscopic analysis. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then, what do you do after you determine that it is similar?
Well, in this case, like I said, we knew that there were similarities because a lead had been found.
Okay.
So I am moving on into a microscopic comparison. So I'm focusing on these individual characteristics.
Okay.
And these are imperfections or irregularities that can occur when the tool, the firearm, is being manufactured or through wear and tear and use and abuse of this particular firearm. But most importantly, it is these imperfections and irregularities that can generate or create a unique, keyword, unique microscopic pattern that allows me to identify cartridge cases that have been fired from that specific firearm to that gun.
Okay, thank you so much. And we're just gonna, on this one, you generated a report after doing all of this.
I just locked it. I thought we were all done.
And at the end of this report, on this page 1 of 2 of State's Exhibit 166, the corrected report, after doing everything that we just told to the jury, what is your finding at the bottom of State's Exhibit 166? Can you read it?
Based on the agreement of class characteristics item number 7 in DPD 20-3830 and a test fired cartridge case from item F1 in DPD 21-0159 were microscopically compared. The fired cartridge case was identified as having been fired by the item F1 Smith & Wesson pistol based on the sufficient agreement of individual characteristics.
It's a match. That's what she said.
Okay, so in the end, the cartridge casings that have been entered into evidence, or the one cartridge casing number 7.
They only entered 1. That's interesting.
Under State's Exhibit number 70. Looks like a 7. This cartridge casing, the one found at the scene here in Dallas, microscopically matched to the Smith & Wesson that was delivered to you months later.
Yes, that is correct. And I do have my markings on this packaging identifying the case number, my initials, and case item number, as well as the date.
And was that the conclusion to your report, except for the correction on the serial number?
Yes, ma'am. And I would like to add that all of my microscopic examinations, comparisons, and results are also verified by another firearms examiner as part of our quality assurance program, and that was done in this case as well.
All right, Laura, I appreciate it. I'll pass the witness.
Cross-examination.
She turns the witness over.
I mean, so what you did in this case was you tested and looked at one cartridge.
Item number 7, yes.
You didn't look at the other cartridges.
I did not.
And when somebody comes back and looks at your work, it's somebody who works in the same agency as you do.
I'm sorry?
Somebody who confirms your results.
Right. They're confirming my microscopic comparisons, which in this case would have been the test fires generated from the gun to item number 7.
Is that a coworker?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Make sure you find the excuse.
Yes, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
Very good. Thank you very much. You may stand
I think
down.
we're going to end for the
Please
day.
make sure you don't have any exhibits with you. I want to make sure you don't take
Apparently, they have a
anything
problem in
as stated.
Texas with witnesses taking evidence with them as they leave the courtroom.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Oh, it's approach time. Attorney's like, is that me? Yeah, that's me. You stay seated. Mr. Defendant, you're not going anywhere anytime soon. Got a little sidebar going on. I think the judge is going to call it for the day at this point. Prosecution saying, look, this is a slam dunk case. We could finish today if you want to go a little bit later. There's something on your nose. What was that? Did you see that? There's something on your nose. She touched his face, and now he's wiping his face. What did you call him, a brown nose or something? Now he's all self-conscious. What was on his face? We need to go back and see if there was something on his face. Just checked. It's 101 degrees with a heat index of 105. Smoking. It's hot. Yeah, we got alerts here for North Carolina as well. She booped his snoot. Yes, she did, DMB. It was like, boop. It was probably a bead of sweat running down from his brow. What could they possibly be talking about here? Let's fill in bad lip reading style. Lots of smiles. Defense hands in pockets. Sort of hopeless. Prosecution looking good. Mr. Boop the Snoot checks the nose again, make sure there's nothing on it.
It's close enough to the end of the day that we're going to stop for the day. We're going to continue to work on some things, but we don't need you for that.
So I want to tell you thank you for paying attention today. I'm going to also let you know that you need to continue to follow the instructions that I've given you. And when you go home, people are going to be asking about this case that you go home to. You're not allowed to talk about it, and there's really no exceptions to that rule. Please don't discuss the case even among yourselves. Please don't drive by any offense locations, or if you happen to find yourself near any of these locations, I want you to go a different way home. I'm not sure where you guys live or what you're going to be up to, but I want you to enjoy the evening. Be ready to come back tomorrow morning, and we will start testimony at 9 o'clock. We can't start testimony until everybody's here, so please be here at 8:45, and we will begin as soon as we can after that. All rise for the jury. Court's in recess.
So his 9 o'clock is our 10 o'clock. We're going to start at 9 o'clock tomorrow anyway, and we'll have an hour of just catching up on coverage as we get ready. Let's hold tight. They said they were going to work on some things. Is it going to be off the record or on the record outside the presence of the jury? Yes, Sarah Boone case does have a baseball bat. That's one of the items that were collected right next to the suitcase at the bottom of the stairs. There was a wooden baseball bat. Possibly matches the dents in George's skull. I'm not sure. There's our witness, who's the dance instructor. He's hanging around to see how this ends up. Looks like we have a couple of witnesses that are
Seated before we break for the day. Is there anything we need to put on the record?
No.
All right, very good. That's all for today.
all right. Everybody's standing up and filing out. There we go. All right. So, fair warning, I will be late, says Debbie. All right, thank you. I'll give you a pass tomorrow, Debbie. So let's do this. We have a letter. We have a letter that has been collectively crafted by some of the finest scholars in all of Addictville, across the land. It is appropriately 7 pages long, as are several of Sarah Boone's letters. And I'm going to read it to you. This letter is. Let me see if I can. Let's see. Oh, sweet letter time. Yes. Let me do this. Hang on one second. I'm going to turn that off. I think I can send the letter over here so we can view it instead of chat. Let's see. There we are. Let's go to. Oops. I just typed Google somewhere in this letter. I don't know where. Sorry about that. Yep, I typed. Let's undo that. There we go. I typed it in the middle of the definition of sincerity. Wrong computer. We'll try this again. There we go. Let's go to the Google. Oops. I'm playing sound effects. I don't need those yet. So that's going to be up here. We will need some sad music. Right there. Okay, we're all set to go. Okay, hold tight. We're getting there. Why is my internet not working? Can't seem to load the app launcher. I've got the About Google page. That's not helping. Okay, so once again, I just typed something in the wrong. I have too many computers. Okay, I need to stop editing. There we go, from the desk of. I just have to read it. Unfortunately, I can't get it on screen because I have to reboot my switcher, and I can't do that as of right now. So your chat messages will be available. We're going to read this. This is going to be the letter. Well, this is the initial draft. The initial draft. I will not say that all of this will make it into the final draft of the letter that we sent to Sarah Boone, but we'll read that here. And it's man, it's a doozy. I need to be able to show this to you.
Because he's the guy.
Cachette says, I'll add the letter in post. Okay, awesome. Cachette is making some amazing videos for us. It's great. Thank you. Okay, first of all, it has our logo, the Recovery Addict logo. Looks great. This is the letterhead. It has stars and unicorns, Recovery Addict, pickles, not politics. It says, hand-delivered from the desk of Scott, doing business as Recovery Addict, with the P.O. Box 775, Aden, North Carolina, 28513. That is my P.O. Box. It has the burner phone number, 801-513-1160, real, i.e. not fake, number, and my email address, mdrecoveryaddict@gmail.com. I won't forget the music. Cachette will add this here. It has today's date. That may move as we have to do minor corrections and updates. We'll have to put that together, but we'll get that set. And it's addressed to Sarah Boone with her inmate number, the Florida Department of Corrections, B36, P.O. Box 4970, Orlando, Florida 32802-4970. Here we go. Sincerity, noun. The quality of being free from pretense, deceit, or hypocrisy, as per Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Pickle, noun, as per Merriam-Webster Dictionary. 1. A solution or bath for preserving or cleaning, such as A. a brine or vinegar solution in which foods are preserved, and B. any of the various baths used in industrial cleaning or processing. 2. In bold. A difficult situation, plight. 3. An article of food that has been preserved in brine or in vinegar, specifically a cucumber that has been so preserved. Dear Miss Future Wife of Adam, also known as Sarah Boone, I hope this letter finds you in the best of spirits. I'm a professional YouTuber, but I'm not like the other ones who have disappointed you. Myself and my rapidly growing community of 22,600 subscribers would like to offer you a space to tell your truth about your case. Legal, not suit. We have been eagerly awaiting at the beginning of your trial since you were taken into custody 3 years, 4 months, and 29 days. That's 41 months, or 178 weeks, or 1,247 days ago. We understand your intense frustration with so many who have tried to stop you from telling the world what you want. We will not interrupt you. Our intention is to give you a safe place where you can reach many people and finally be heard by the world and your fans. We work together, even to write this letter to you. We have read all your letters in great detail. Unlike some judges, lawyers, the media, we admire your handwriting, counting, organization, and information and passion. We understand your letter writing is very important to you, and they have been important to us as well. Each letter must have taken days to write. Where on earth did you find the time? You must be very adept at time management. Very impressive. We are a judgment-free zone and will allow you to speak. We try to hold our community to a very high standard and would like to do things a little different than others. We have felt compelled to reach out. We really hope you will respond to this letter. We are very interested in hearing your version of what happened that fateful night. We know you always go above and beyond to get things zipped up. Get it? Too soon? We understand your frustration with the attorney you have now, one Mr. Frank Bankowitz. Perhaps you could contact Matthew Harris Law, LLC, located in Texas, to help with your case. He promises to quiz you daily so that your understanding of the law is at least as good as ours, which isn't saying much. He will not give you any fake phone numbers. We have 52% correct rate with this particular lawyer currently, but we aim to do better. We want to be above average as above average as you. We want to excel at everything, but this isn't the place to complain about that. All you need to do is write !Matthew, and you will get a link to his page, like magic. We need to restart the music. We all know that it was not intentional, so you should go free. You/we have suffered and waited long enough. You have been suffocated by the process that doesn't let you speak what you want to tell the world. All jokes aside, we feel that your side of the story has not been heard, and we want you to help have that opportunity because it is only fair to you to help you have a voice. Many people have turned a deaf ear to you, and it is your right to have a fair trial, and that can only happen if you share. We know you didn't do this to George intentionally. Would you like to share with us how you think you're going to get out of this deadly hide-and-seek game gone bad? My offer to you, number 1, please consider letting us have you tell your story when all is said and done, or even earlier. 2, I will pay for all your costs for our call, no matter wherever you may be when we chat on the phone. 3, all recordings of this future phone call will become my property to do with what I please, including but not limited to broadcasting all of the entire world as often as I see fit, for monetary purposes, of course, as well as clipping any interesting or entertaining audio from. All the unicorns you can fill your cell with. We have mugs and zebras. I'm happy to supply Dr. Pepper. If you're more comfortable with a letter response addressed to me, please use your best handwriting, none of this scratchy stuff we're accustomed to. I have enough trouble reading things aloud to the world. Do you like games? How about 20 questions? 20 or more questions we have for you in particular. Number 1, what made you decide to play hide and seek knowing that you already knew the entire townhouse front and back? I mean, how hard was hiding really going to be? 2, did you ever consider going pro se attorney? Being a pro se attorney, have you ever had Walmart spicy maple bourbon pickles? If not, will they allow me to send you some in jail? They will change your life. With a pickle jar emoji. Number 4, where can we find a dictionary like yours so we can increase our vocabulary and knowledge to be like you? 5, did you consider discussing your case with Darrell Brooks? 6, what did you do to feel your defense could have gone differently? What do you feel your defense could have done differently? My boyfriend is cheating on me. 2, do you suggest I play hide and seek with him too? Do you realize now that you were in an abusive relationship? Do you plan to work or do schooling while serving your time? What would you tell other women in your position? What kind of art do you like to make? Do you think Taylor Shabusiness has better hair than you? What kind of workouts do you do? Your forearms look great. What kind of wine is your favorite? Is it the one you were drinking that night? At any point, did you ever consider resorting to the same actions as Taylor Shabusiness? Do you like chickens or like to play chicken? After the trial, will the suitcase be returned for any future vacations? Do you think your suitcase is nicer than the one Letitia Stout used? Now, just going for sure. If they make a movie, who would you want to play you? Hint, you sound a lot like Sally Field. What is next for Sarah Boone? Okay, a few more. Brian Koberger might have trouble producing alibis. What would you suggest to him? What is your favorite kind of letter writing paper? Favorite writing utensil? I'll be counting the days until we hear from you. Oh, yes, we have a counting fetish, just like you do. I feel that connects us as well. Once we counted objections in a case we followed and the number of times an attorney coughed or cleared his throat. We are experts at counting, and we are counting on you to come on and tell your side of this horrendous, terribly one-sided, and perpetually misunderstood case. Please answer this letter as we look forward to hearing back from you. Also, we don't relish the thought of having to continually write more letters should you not reply. We are certainly not as brilliant as yourself in the lost art of letter writing. Intentionally yours, or as my German viewers say, Schaus, TSCHUSS, I don't know how to say that, Scott, recovery addict, and Lord of Spicy Maple Bourbon Pickles. P.S. What brand of suitcase do you recommend? Samsonite? I'm struggling to find a way to fit all my pickle jars in the one I currently have. All I can think of is when Barney and Andy were trying to get rid of Aunt Bee's homemade pickles. PPS. What other family games can you recommend to keep a relationship exciting and spicy? PPPS. How drunk should we be when we play? PPPS. QVC offers soundproof suitcases. Are they worth it, in your opinion, as a professional suitcaser? PPPPS. Please ask the judge not to schedule your trial at the same time as Brian Koberger's. Thanks. PPPPPS. What's your recommendation of the best mobile phone cameras? Appendix A. List of happy interviewees on our channel. Solomon Anderson, Zachariah Anderson's brother. Judge Bruce Schroeder from Wisconsin, pending, but he is an avid viewer. Number 3, Frank Bankowitz, Esquire, unable to contact. Number 4, Dr. G from Dr. G Explains, expert witness, body language expert, not the medical examiner. 5, Nicole, Letitia Stouck's Facebook neighbor that played her like a fiddle. And 6, you, ? Appendix B. My viewers are from the following countries and states: Costa Rica, Canada, True North, strong and free, Mexico, United Kingdom, Scotland, England, European Union, Germany, Slovakia, the Netherlands, Germany, where the pickles are born, Slovakia, and the Netherlands. Listed twice, everything. United States, Maryland, New York, the best one, go Yanks. New York City, let's go Rangers. Ohio, Texas, home to defendants such as Aaron Dean, Anthony Burgos, and possibly future home of Darrin Lopez. Utah, Minnesota, Skol. Delaware, Florida, go Bolts. Wisconsin, go Pack, go. Brewers suck. Oklahoma, Missouri, KC Chiefs, Super Bowl champs, and St. Louis Cardinals. STL Blues. Virginia, the place for lovers, apparently. Iowa, Middle Earth. Adam, lying like that will not get you a wife. Ohio, go Browns, always next year. South Carolina, South Dakota, North Carolina, New Hampshire, Louisiana, and a golden doodle puppy named Buttercup. Ruff, LSU is number 1. Lisk, Long Island serial killer. Illinois, go Chicago Bears and Blackhawks and Chicago Cubs, 2016 world champions. Pennsylvania, Colorado, and Tennessee. Yes, some New Yorkers consider upstate and the city separate. That's an asterisk. Appendix C. I copy-pasted these into the body of the letter. We can delete this as soon as we are done. I meant to put these questions in the body of the letter, questions we'd like to address during your interview. Looks like those have all been moved. So I think we're done. I think that's the letter that you will... You'll add the letter in post. Sorry, I left that text up the entire time. Obviously, some parts of this have to go. So don't feel offended when I trim your prized entry from the letter. Believe it or not, as much fun as it would be to write just a fun letter, I actually would like to write a letter that I think she might be inclined to respond to at least. So this, yeah, Letitia is going for sure. That was great. I wish you could send this. No, Dodie, there's so much that needs to be cut out of there. Please don't take out Skull. Oh, man. You guys are a creative bunch. Let me say that. It is... Keep the Bullhorn Betty comments out. I don't know what that is. Yes, this is not the real letter that's going to her. We'll make some changes to this. It's expected you'll trim it. We just had fun until it lasted. Yeah, that was fun. Okay, this is not the real letter. This is not the real letter. She has to respond to a non-joking letter. So we will take parts of this. I think it will be important to. I think it would be important to identify ourselves properly, which we have done in this letter. Identify her properly, which we have done. address her and be somewhat respectful. As it stands right now, she is innocent until proven guilty.
Coops just sent a super sticker with 4.99.
Coops, thank you very much for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Thanks for your help on this letter. But I think we should address that. We should have some information about who we are and what we are, and what we do here. I think it would be appropriate to give her some questions as far as what we would like to know from her, as well as give her an opportunity to share. Yes, I didn't expect you to behave. To share, a little bit more of where she can freely speak and address the things that are, pressing on her mind. So that has to be in there. Take out Brown's comment. Just curse your letter. Oh my goodness. But that has to be in there on an invitation. I do fully intend, if I'm inviting her to do this, I realize that her current situation, she has very limited funds, and I would not want her to have to spend her funds on that. So I would pick up the tab for that. I would put some money on the account so that she can make that call. I'd include any questions, a separate piece of paper to be included with the non-parody letter. Cash Out, we might need your help crafting this. I saw some of your suggestions, and eventually you just said, I can't touch it anymore, but it's good. If you could send the recording of you reading it, she would get that it's in good fun, and she would probably get a good laugh. I don't think at this point she's laughing. Maybe later, but let's see. Oh my goodness, I saw this, Greeners. Shabusiness giving the bird, not the bird. I didn't see that one. I saw her giving the finger to the judge. This one to the judge. The pew pew finger to the judge. That doesn't go over very well. When the judge finds out about that, I don't think it'll be good. So we've already got the autopsy report. No, not. I don't think we have George's autopsy report. I know it exists. When she was interviewed, they had the autopsy report, and we have some details about the injuries he sustained from that, just from the questionnaire or the interview for Sarah Boone. But right, I agree. Super unknown. She shouldn't be talking to anyone about her case. I think for her, in her best interest. And she's not following this right now. She's writing letters to the public currently. I mean, she addressed it to YouTubers and everything else. She's included us in that and invited us to tear it apart and listen and understand. So she's already blown her attorney-client privilege wide open and everything else. But I don't want to be part of that. So I would like to offer to do this after the case is over, whatever the outcome is. Whatever the outcome is when we'd like to talk with her a little bit. Let's see. I think that's it. The first part was good until it turned parody. There's some good parts in there, and I think as there are so many, we had 40 some odd contributors on this letter, adding parts and pieces. I think there's some that was well intended, and I think we're going to use aspects of that in the final letter, and it will definitely have parts of what people contributed in the final. But that was fun, a group activity. Writing assignments. I think that was better than AI, honestly. ChatGPT could not have written a better letter than what you guys came up with. That was really good. I think that's it. You guys are hilarious. It is the end of the day. We have wrapped up the case. We're ready to. Well, I would say I'm ready to go play with the kids, but the kids are probably kicked back and relaxing. Let's see, I've got a meeting Thursday now. Okay. Meetings. Okay, writing assignments are fun, yes. Can the original go on Discord? You're welcome to put it on Discord. Just make sure we mark it as, don't try to advertise it as something that we sent to Sarah Boone, because we haven't. Just say what it was. Anywhere you post that, just make sure you share that it was, crowdsourced and will be edited heavily. What kind of dents? Baseball bat and the proximity of dents in the head don't necessarily equal causation. Police might have just been fishing to see if she admitted to murdering him. I don't know the dents, PFOG. We'll have to wait and hear from the medical examiner to hear the actual shape and size. there's speculation that it could have been caused from the suitcase rolling down the stairs. Crowdsourced. I tried to say crowd, but maybe watermark it. No, it's all right. It'll survive. I think it's time for us to wrap up. Thank you all. This has been a fun day. I think this case is going to grow on us. I like the way they're handling the spicy stuff, meaning they're skipping over quite a bit of it. Hopefully that continues. Hopefully we're able to focus on the details of the case and not the salacious bits, which there are a lot of. But let's be adults about this and move on. Hopefully we didn't make a poor choice in choosing this case. I appreciate all your help. You guys have been absolutely wonderful. Today's been a fun time to spend with you. I appreciate you guys spending it here with me. I do think this is the best place to watch true crime, and it is because of you. It would not be the same without you, so I appreciate you making the decision to be here and behave the way you do.
Is that correct?
Guten Nacht, everyone, says Ivy. Thank you. Tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love, smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again tomorrow. It will be 9 o'clock as we pick up day 2 of this trial. It might be, the state might rest at this rate tomorrow. They are moving. They are moving. So it's all good. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully you guys are going to come back and join us. It's nice to see so many of our friends that have wandered off to various different locations and interests and are popping back in chat. Thank you all for returning. It's good to see you again. I'm glad to see so many of you are doing so well. All right, I'm going to remove this pinned message, and I think that's it. I think that's it. All right, I'm gonna go find some food, which involves the microwave, because I'm a bachelor this week. Hope Mrs. R.A. is having a good one. She might be watching now. If she is, hope you got in the Airbnb just fine. So, thank you all. Have a good night. Somebody turn on the lights if you're the last one here.
Kick back, taking it
Have
easy.
a good night. We'll see you guys later.
Because he's the guy.